The office fell silent as Logan Pierce walked through the door, not because he was new, but because the woman standing by the window had just fired 3 senior employees in 1 week. Vanessa Hale, 29 years old, the youngest CEO in the company's history, famous for never making mistakes, never apologizing, and never letting anyone see her weak. But tonight, at Chicago's most elite corporate event, Logan would witness what no one dared to acknowledge. Their perfect CEO was in danger, and he would destroy his new career by saving her. Stay with me until the end of this story. Hit like and comment what city you're watching from so I can see how far this story has traveled. Logan Pierce had learned a long time ago that survival meant keeping your head down and your mouth shut. 27 months as a single father had taught him that much. Wake up at 5:30, make breakfast, pack the lunchbox with the crust cut off because Emma wouldn't eat them otherwise, drop her at school, work 9 hours, pick her up, dinner, homework, bath time, bedtime. Repeat. There wasn't room for mistakes, and there definitely wasn't room for heroics. So when he walked into Sterling and Hale Marketing on a gray Monday morning in October, he had exactly one plan: do the job, collect the paycheck, go home. The office took up 3 floors of a glass tower on West Wacker Drive. Everything gleamed: polished floors, steel fixtures, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Chicago River. The kind of place where people spoke in hushed voices and wore shoes that cost more than his rent. Logan's suit was off the rack from Macy's, pressed carefully the night before while Emma watched cartoons. It would have to be good enough. "Mr. Pierce?" A woman in her 40s with a severe bob and a tablet glued to her hand appeared beside him. "I'm Diane. I'll be showing you to your desk. You'll report directly to the creative strategy team under Marcus Vaughn. He's exacting, but if you can keep up, you'll do fine." Logan nodded. "Understood." They moved through a maze of open desks and glass-walled conference rooms. People glanced at him, then away. New blood. Fresh meat. He could feel the assessment happening in real time, wondering how long he'd last. Diane stopped at a desk near the back, tucked between a window and a row of filing cabinets. "Here, you'll find the project briefs in your inbox. We have a team meeting at 10. Don't be late." "I won't." She walked away without another word. Logan set his bag down, logged into the computer, and started reading. The work was straightforward: campaign pitches, market analysis, client profiles. Nothing he couldn't handle. He'd spent 5 years at a mid-tier agency before Emma was born, back when he still thought he'd be creative director by 30. That version of his life felt like someone else's now. He was halfway through a brief on a luxury car brand when a hush fell over the room. Not silence. Something quieter than that. The kind of stillness that happens when everyone knows to stop moving at once. Logan looked up. A woman stood at the far end of the floor, speaking with Marcus Vaughn. She was tall, maybe 5'9", with dark hair pulled into a low bun and a charcoal suit that fit like it had been made for her because it probably had. Her posture was perfect. Her expression was unreadable. She didn't raise her voice, but Marcus was nodding like his life depended on it. "That's Vanessa Hale," someone whispered behind him. Logan didn't turn around. "The CEO?" "Yeah, don't stare. She notices everything." He looked back at his screen, but his eyes drifted up again without permission. Vanessa was walking now, moving between desks with the kind of precision that made it clear she knew exactly where she was going and why. People straightened as she passed. A few smiled. No one spoke unless she spoke first. She stopped at a desk 2 rows over, leaned down, and said something to a young woman with red hair. The woman's face went pale. Vanessa waited. The woman nodded. Vanessa straightened and walked away. 10 seconds later, the redhead was packing her things. Logan exhaled slowly and went back to work. Quote, the team meeting at 10 was a masterclass in corporate efficiency. Marcus Vaughn ran through 3 campaigns in 20 minutes, assigned tasks without asking for input, and dismissed everyone before anyone could ask questions. Logan took notes, kept his head down, and left the room without making eye contact. He spent the rest of the day buried in spreadsheets and drafts. By 6, most of the office had emptied out. By 7, it was just him and a handful of others still typing under fluorescent lights. He should have left. Emma was with his neighbor, Mrs. Kowalski, who'd agreed to watch her for an extra hour, but not 2. But the deck he was building for Marcus wasn't finished, and showing up tomorrow without it felt like a death sentence. He was tweaking the final slide when his phone buzzed. Mrs. K, she's asleep on my couch. Take your time, sweetheart. Logan closed his eyes. Guilt settled in his chest like a stone. This was the third time this month. He packed up, shut down his computer, and headed for the elevator. The floor was dark except for a single office at the far end. Corner view, glass walls, lights still on. He didn't need to guess whose it was. As the elevator doors opened, he glanced back one more time. Vanessa Hale was standing at her window, silhouetted against the city lights, completely still. She didn't look like a CEO. She looked like someone standing on the edge of something. Logan stepped into the elevator and pressed the button for the ground floor. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of deadlines and late nights. Logan learned the rhythms of the office quickly. Marcus was demanding but predictable. The creative team was talented but cautious. And Vanessa Hale was everywhere and nowhere. A presence felt more than seen, her decisions rippling through the building like aftershocks. Logan kept his distance, did his work, stayed quiet. Emma asked him one morning why he looked so tired. Just busy at work, bug. Do you like your new job? He thought about that while he poured her cereal. It's fine. Just fine? Yeah, just fine. She frowned at him, and he felt a pang of guilt. 5 years old, and she could already read him better than most adults. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, Emma. He dropped her at school and made it to the office by 8:15. Marcus was already at his desk, typing furiously. Logan settled in and opened his laptop. At 9, an email came through from Diane. Subject: Annual Investor Gala. Mandatory attendance. Logan read it twice. Black tie. The Drake Hotel. This Friday. Spouses and partners welcome, but not required. He didn't have a spouse, didn't have a partner, didn't have a tuxedo. He added rent-a-tux to his to-do list and got back to work. Friday arrived too fast. Logan picked up the rental tux during lunch, tried it on in the shop's back room, and decided it would have to do. The jacket was a little loose in the shoulders, but nobody would notice. He hoped. Emma thought it was the funniest thing she'd ever seen. You look like a penguin, Daddy. Thanks, Bug. Are you going to dance with someone? Definitely not. Why not? Because I don't know how to dance. She giggled and spun in a circle. I can teach you. Logan smiled despite himself. Maybe tomorrow. Mrs. Kowalski arrived at 6:30. Logan kissed Emma's forehead, promised he wouldn't be too late, and caught a cab downtown. The Drake Hotel was lit up like a cathedral. Valets in red jackets opened car doors. Women in gowns and men in tuxedos streamed through the entrance. Logan paid the cab driver, straightened his bow tie, and followed the crowd inside. The ballroom was massive. Vaulted ceilings, crystal chandeliers, walls lined with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lakeshore Drive. A string quartet played near the far corner. Waiters moved through the crowd with trays of champagne and hors d'oeuvres. Everything was polished, elegant, and completely out of Logan's league. He grabbed a glass of champagne from a passing waiter and found a spot near the bar where he could observe without being noticed. Marcus was holding court near the windows, laughing loudly at something a silver-haired man had said. The creative team hovered nearby, nodding along like backup singers. Logan stayed where he was, and then he saw her. Vanessa Hale entered the ballroom like she owned it. Midnight blue gown that hugged her frame, hair swept up in an elegant twist, diamond earrings catching the light. She moved through the crowd with the same precision she used in the office. Controlled, deliberate, untouchable. People gravitated toward her. She smiled at the right moments, shook hands, leaned in when someone spoke. Perfect. Logan looked away. This wasn't his world. He was here because it was required, not because he belonged. He nursed his champagne and checked his watch. Another hour, maybe 2, and he could leave without it being noticed. But then something shifted. It was subtle at first. A change in Vanessa's posture. She was standing near the far side of the room, talking to a man Logan didn't recognize. Older, late 50s, expensive suit, the kind of tan that came from too much time on a yacht. The man was standing too close. Vanessa took a half step back. He followed. Logan straightened. Another man joined them, younger, sharper. Logan recognized him. Richard Calloway, one of the senior vice presidents. He'd been in the office a few times, always moving like he was late for something more important. Calloway said something, and the older man laughed. Vanessa didn't. Her face was still composed, still calm, but her hands were clasped in front of her, knuckles white. Logan set down his glass and started walking. He didn't have a plan, didn't have a script. He just knew that whatever was happening over there wasn't right, and no one else in the room seemed to care. He reached them just as the older man leaned in and said, "Come on, Vanessa. We've known each other for years. Don't be difficult." Logan stopped beside her. "Ms. Hale." All three of them turned. Vanessa's eyes met his, sharp, confused, and for just a fraction of a second, relieved. "I'm sorry to interrupt," Logan said, voice calm and even, "but Marcus is looking for you, said it's urgent." It was a lie. Marcus was halfway across the room, still laughing at his own jokes. But it didn't matter. Vanessa didn't miss a beat. "Of course." She turned to the older man with a polite smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Excuse me, David. We'll speak later." David's jaw tightened, but he stepped back. Calloway shot Logan a look that could have stripped paint. Vanessa walked away, and Logan followed. They made it halfway across the ballroom before she stopped near a quieter hallway, away from the crowd. She turned to face him, arms crossed, expression unreadable. "Marcus isn't looking for me." "I know." "Then why did you do that?" Logan met her gaze. "Because you wanted out of that conversation, and they weren't letting you leave." She stared at him for a long moment. Her jaw worked like she was deciding whether to thank him or fire him. Maybe both. "You don't know what you just walked into," she said quietly. "Maybe not, but I know what I saw." Her eyes narrowed. "And what exactly did you see, Mr. Pierce?" "Someone who needed an exit." Silence. Then without another word, Vanessa turned and walked toward the coat check. Logan watched her go, half expecting security to appear and escort him out. Instead, she stopped at the counter, collected a black wool coat, and left the hotel entirely. Logan stood there for a moment, weighing his options. He could go back to the party, finish his drink, pretend nothing happened, or he could follow her. He followed her. She was standing outside on the sidewalk, coat wrapped tight against the October wind, staring at nothing. The street was quieter here, away from the valet stand and the idling town cars. Just the sound of distant traffic and the rustle of leaves skittering across concrete. Logan stopped a few feet away. "You okay?" Vanessa didn't look at him. "You should go back inside." "Probably." "Then why are you still here?" "Same reason I interrupted in the first place." She turned, finally, and the streetlight caught her face. The perfect composure was still there, but underneath it, Logan could see the cracks, exhaustion, anger, something close to fear. "You don't know me, Mr. Pierce." "Logan." "Logan," she repeated like she was testing the word. "You don't know me. You don't know David Langford. You don't know what kind of position you just put yourself in." "Then tell me." She laughed, short, bitter. "David Langford is one of our largest investors. He's been with the company since before I became CEO. And Richard Calloway has been trying to undermine me for 2 years because he thinks he should have gotten my job." She paused, jaw tight. "So when you walked up and interrupted their very carefully orchestrated ambush, you made yourself a target." Logan shrugged. "Wouldn't be the first time." "This isn't a joke." "I'm not laughing." Vanessa stared at him, and for a moment he thought she might actually yell. But instead her shoulders sagged. Just slightly, just enough to notice. "Why did you do it?" she asked, quieter now. "You've been here 2 weeks. You don't owe me anything." Logan thought about that. About Emma. About the years he'd spent learning to recognize when someone was drowning, even if they were too proud to ask for help. "Because it was the right thing to do," he said simply. Vanessa's expression softened. Not much, but enough. "You're going to regret this," she said. "Maybe." She shook her head, almost smiling. "You're either very brave or very stupid." "Probably both." This time she did smile. Small, fleeting, but real. "Go home, Logan," she said. "And thank you." She turned and walked toward a waiting car at the curb. The driver opened the door and she slid inside without looking back. Logan stood there until the car disappeared around the corner. Then he went home to his daughter. Us. The fallout started the next morning. Logan arrived at the office at 8:30 to find Marcus waiting at his desk, arms crossed, face like a thundercloud. My office. Now. Logan followed him into a glass-walled room overlooking the floor. Marcus shut the door and turned on him. What the hell were you thinking? Logan kept his voice calm. I don't know what you mean. Don't play dumb. Last night, the gala. You pulled Vanessa Hale away from David Langford and Richard Calloway in the middle of a conversation. She needed to leave. I gave her an out. Marcus's face went red. You gave her... Are you out of your mind? Do you have any idea who those men are? Yeah, I do. Then you should know that you don't interrupt them, ever, for any reason. Logan met his eyes. Even if they're making someone uncomfortable? Marcus leaned forward. Especially then. Vanessa Hale is a grown woman and the CEO of this company. She doesn't need some junior strategist playing white knight. I wasn't playing anything. Well, congratulations. You've been here 2 weeks and you've already painted a target on your back. Calloway's pissed. Langford's asking questions. And I'm the one who has to explain why my new hire doesn't understand how things work around here. Logan didn't flinch. I understand fine. I just don't agree. Marcus stared at him like he'd grown a second head. Then he laughed, sharp and humorless. You're done, Pierce. Clean out your desk. Logan's stomach dropped. You're firing me? I'm reassigning you. As of today, you report directly to Vanessa's office. If she wants to deal with your little hero complex, that's her problem. He opened the door and gestured for Logan to leave. Logan walked back to his desk in a daze. Around him, people were pretending to work, but he could feel their eyes on him. By lunch, everyone would know. By tomorrow, he'd be a cautionary tale. He sat down, stared at his computer screen, and wondered how he was going to explain this to Mrs. Kowalski when he couldn't make rent next month. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. Report to my office at 2 p.m. V. Hale Logan read it 3 times. Then he put the phone down and got back to work. And at exactly 2 o'clock, Logan stood outside Vanessa Hale's office on the top floor. The door was closed. Through the glass, he could see her sitting at her desk, reading something on her laptop, perfectly still. He knocked. Come in. He stepped inside. The office was larger than he'd expected. Clean lines, minimal furniture, a wall of windows overlooking the river. Vanessa didn't look up. Close the door. He did. She kept reading for another 30 seconds, then finally glanced up. Her expression gave nothing away. Sit. Logan sat. Vanessa leaned back in her chair, studying him. Marcus told me he reassigned you. Yes. And you're aware that reporting directly to me is usually reserved for senior staff? I am. So you understand that this isn't a promotion, it's a probation. Logan nodded. I understand. Vanessa's eyes didn't leave his face. Why did you really do it, Logan? He didn't hesitate. Because I have a daughter. And if someday she's in a room where 2 men won't let her leave a conversation, I hope someone steps in. The silence that followed was absolute. Vanessa's expression didn't change, but something shifted in her eyes. Something softer, something human. How old is she? 5. What's her name? Emma. Vanessa nodded slowly, like she was filing the information away. Then she stood, walked to the window, and looked out at the city. David Langford has been trying to leverage his investment into control for years, she said quietly. Richard Calloway wants my job. Last night they were working together, trying to corner me, undermine me, make me look weak in front of the board. She paused. You disrupted that. Logan said nothing. You also made yourself a liability, Vanessa continued. Calloway will come after you. Langford will ask questions. And if you can't handle the pressure, it'll reflect on me. I can handle it. She turned to face him. Can you? Because this isn't about being brave. It's about being smart. And right now I need people who understand the difference. Logan met her gaze. Then tell me what you need. Vanessa studied him for a long moment. Then she walked back to her desk, opened a drawer, and pulled out a folder. I need someone I can trust, she said. Someone who doesn't have an agenda. Someone who won't fold the first time Calloway or Langford applies pressure. She set the folder in front of him. Can you be that person? Logan looked down at the folder, then back at her. Yes. Vanessa's lips curved into the smallest hint of a smile. Good. Because you're going to help me take them down. The first week working directly under Vanessa Hale was brutal. She didn't ease him in, didn't give him time to adjust. On his first day, she handed him a stack of financial reports and told him to find discrepancies. On the second, she had him sit in on a board call and take notes, while Richard Calloway spent an hour trying to discredit her third-quarter projections. On the third, she sent him to a client meeting with Marcus, who spent the entire car ride explaining in excruciating detail how much Logan had screwed up his life. But Logan didn't complain. He showed up early, stayed late, and did exactly what Vanessa asked without question. Emma noticed. "You're tired, Daddy," she said one night while he helped her brush her teeth. "I'm okay, Bug." "You don't smile as much." Logan knelt down so they were eye level. "I'm just working hard, but I'm always happy when I'm with you." She wrapped her arms around his neck. "I love you, Daddy." "I love you too, Emma." He carried her to bed, read her 2 stories instead of 1, and stayed until she fell asleep. Then he went back to his laptop and worked until midnight. 2 weeks into the reassignment, Vanessa called him into her office after hours. The floor was empty. The city lights stretched out beyond the windows, glittering and cold. "Sit," she said. Logan sat. Vanessa didn't speak right away. She was reading something on her screen, fingers tapping a slow rhythm on the desk. Finally, she looked up. "You've been doing good work." "Thank you." "I mean it. Marcus said you'd fold. Calloway said you'd quit. But you're still here." "I don't quit easily." Vanessa tilted her head. "Why not?" Logan considered the question. "Because I have someone depending on me. Quitting isn't an option." "Your daughter?" "Yeah." Vanessa leaned back, still watching him. "What happened to her mother?" Logan's jaw tightened. It wasn't a question he answered often, but something about the way Vanessa asked, direct, without pity, made him consider it. "She left," he said quietly. 2 years ago. Decided being a mother wasn't what she wanted. Signed over custody and walked away. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. Emma's better off." Vanessa didn't argue. She just nodded, like she understood more than she was saying. "Can I ask you something?" Logan said. "Go ahead." "Why me? You could have ignored what happened at the gala. You could have let Marcus fire me. Why bring me up here?" Vanessa was quiet for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was softer than he'd ever heard it. "Because you saw me," she said. "Not the CEO, not the reputation. You saw someone who needed help and you didn't hesitate." She paused. "No one's done that in a long time." Logan didn't know what to say to that. Vanessa stood, walked to the window, and crossed her arms. "I've spent 5 years building this company, 5 years proving I deserve to be here. And every single day someone's waiting for me to fail." Her voice hardened. "I won't let that happen." "I know." She glanced back at him. "Do you?" "Yeah. I see it every time you walk into a room." Vanessa's expression flickered. Surprise, maybe. Or recognition. "Go home, Logan," she said quietly. "Get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be worse." Logan stood. "How much worse?" "David Langford's coming to the office. He wants a meeting." Logan's stomach tightened. "What kind of meeting?" "The kind where he reminds me who holds the purse strings." Vanessa turned back to the window. "And I remind him that I don't take orders." Logan hesitated. "You want me there?" "Yes." "Why?" Vanessa looked at him, and for the first time he saw something unguarded in her eyes. "Because I trust you, Shad." David Langford arrived at 10 the next morning in a tailored navy suit and an expression that said he owned the building, which, technically, he partially did. Logan sat in the corner of Vanessa's office, laptop open, taking notes. Vanessa sat behind her desk, perfectly composed, hands folded in front of her. Langford didn't sit. He stood in the center of the room like he was holding court. "Vanessa," he said, voice smooth and patronizing, "we need to talk about your leadership. I'm listening. The board has concerns, third-quarter revenues are down, client retention is slipping, and there's been chatter. Chatter. About your decision-making, your priorities." He glanced at Logan. "Your staffing choices." Vanessa didn't blink. My staffing choices are my own, not when they affect investor confidence. Is that what this is about, investor confidence? Or is this about the fact that I wouldn't have a drink with you at the gala? Langford's jaw tightened. Careful, Vanessa. No, David, you be careful. She stood, and suddenly the room felt smaller. I've doubled this company's revenue in 3 years. I've landed clients you said we'd never get. And I've done it without compromising a single value this company was built on. Her voice was ice. So if you have concerns about my leadership, put them in writing and present them to the board. Otherwise, get out of my office. Langford stared at her, face red. Then he smiled, cold and dangerous. This isn't over. Yes, it is. He turned and walked out, slamming the door behind him. The silence that followed was deafening. Logan looked up from his laptop. Vanessa was still standing, hands braced on her desk, breathing carefully. You okay? He asked. She didn't answer right away. Then slowly, she sat down. No, she said quietly. But I will be. Logan closed his laptop. What do you need? Vanessa looked at him, and for the first time since he'd met her, she looked tired. Not weak, just human. I need to not be alone in this, she said. Logan didn't hesitate. You're not. And in that moment, something shifted between them. Something unspoken. Something real. Vanessa nodded just once. Thank you, Logan. Anytime. She smiled, small, genuine, and for him alone. The next 3 weeks were a war of attrition. Langford didn't make another public appearance, but his influence was everywhere. Budget meetings got delayed, client contracts stalled in legal review. Board members started asking questions about operational efficiency and leadership stability. Richard Calloway, meanwhile, became more aggressive. He questioned Vanessa's decisions and meetings, CC'd the board on emails that should have been internal, and made it clear to anyone who would listen that he believed the company needed new direction. Logan watched it all unfold from his corner of Vanessa's office. He took notes during calls, analyzed financial reports late into the night, and flagged discrepancies that didn't add up. Slowly, a pattern emerged. Look at this, Logan said one evening, spreading printouts across Vanessa's desk. Calloway's been routing client payments through an offshore account before they hit our books. It makes our revenue look lower than it actually is. Vanessa leaned forward, studying the documents. How long has this been going on? At least 8 months, maybe longer. Can you prove it? Logan pulled up a spreadsheet on his laptop and turned it toward her. Every transaction, time-stamped, cross-referenced with client contracts. Vanessa's eyes moved across the screen, and Logan watched as her expression shifted from exhaustion to something sharper. Harder. He's been sabotaging the numbers to make me look incompetent. Yeah. And Langford? Probably knows, maybe even encouraged it. Vanessa sat back, fingers drumming on the desk. If we take this to the board now, Calloway will say it's fabricated. He'll claim I'm desperate to deflect criticism. So what do we do? She was quiet for a long moment. Then she looked at Logan. We let him hang himself. The board meeting was scheduled for the first Tuesday in December. Vanessa spent the weekend preparing, reviewing every piece of evidence Logan had compiled, rehearsing her presentation until she could deliver it without notes. Logan offered to stay late and help, but she sent him home. Go be with your daughter, she said. I'll be fine. You sure? Yeah, I'm sure. Logan hesitated at the door. You're going to win this. Vanessa smiled, tired but genuine. I know. The board meeting started at 9. Logan wasn't invited, but Vanessa texted him updates throughout the morning, 9:47 a.m. Calloway just accused me of mismanaging Q3. Langford backed him up. 10:23 a.m. Presented the offshore account evidence. Calloway's denying everything. 11:05 a.m. Board called a recess. They're reviewing the documents now. Logan sat at his desk, unable to focus on anything else. Around him, the office buzzed with nervous energy. Everyone knew something big was happening upstairs. At 11:52, his phone buzzed again. 11:52 a.m. It's over. Calloway's been suspended pending investigation. Langford stepping back from active involvement. We won. Logan exhaled for what felt like the first time in hours. At 12:15, Vanessa emerged from the elevator. She walked across the floor with the same precision she always had, but something was different. She wasn't performing anymore. She was just herself. She stopped at Logan's desk. "Can you come to my office?" "Of course." They sat in silence for a moment after the door closed. Vanessa at her desk, Logan in the chair across from her. The city stretched out beyond the windows, indifferent and endless. "Thank you," Vanessa said finally. "You did all the work." "No, you saw what no one else did. You put the pieces together. You gave me the ammunition I needed." She paused. "I couldn't have done this without you." Logan didn't know what to say to that. Vanessa stood and walked to the window. "I've been thinking about something you said, about not being alone." "Yeah?" "I've spent so long building walls, keeping everyone at a distance, thinking that's what strength looked like." She turned to face him. "But it's not. Strength is letting people in, trusting them, building something together instead of fighting everything alone." Logan stood. "So what happens now?" Vanessa smiled, real and unguarded. "Now we rebuild the right way." Christmas came quietly. Logan spent it with Emma, just the two of them, making pancakes and watching movies and building a gingerbread house that collapsed twice before they gave up and just ate the pieces. On Christmas night, after Emma was asleep, his phone buzzed. "Vanessa. Merry Christmas, Logan. Thank you for everything this year." He smiled and typed back. Logan. "Merry Christmas. See you Monday." Vanessa. "Actually, would you and Emma want to have dinner this week? Nothing formal, just dinner." Logan stared at the message for a long moment. Then he typed, "Logan, we'd like that." Vanessa. "Good. Wednesday at 7? Logan. "Perfect." He set the phone down and looked over at Emma's bedroom door. For the first time in a long time, he felt something he hadn't allowed himself to feel in years. Hope. That Wednesday arrived cold and clear. Logan picked out Emma's favorite dress, the one with the flowers on it, and spent 20 minutes trying to get her hair into something resembling a ponytail. "Who are we having dinner with?" Emma asked while he drove. "Someone I work with." "Is she nice?" Logan glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "Yeah, she's nice." "Does she like kids?" "I don't know. We're about to find out." Vanessa had chosen a small Italian place in Lincoln Park. Quiet, warm, the kind of restaurant where families went on weeknights. Logan spotted her immediately, sitting at a table near the back, dressed in jeans and a sweater. No suit, no armor. She stood when she saw them, and for just a moment Logan saw something in her expression he'd never seen before. Nervousness. "Hi," Vanessa said. "Hi," Logan replied. "This is Emma." Emma looked up at Vanessa with wide eyes. "You're really tall." Vanessa laughed, genuine and surprised. "I get that a lot." They sat down, and for the first few minutes, it was awkward. Vanessa didn't know how to talk to a 5-year-old, and Emma was shy around strangers. But then the waiter brought crayons and a coloring sheet, and Emma started drawing, and Vanessa leaned over to look. "What are you making?" "A castle," Emma said seriously, "with a dragon." "Does the dragon live in the castle?" "No, the dragon protects it." Vanessa smiled. "That's a good dragon." Emma nodded. "The best." And just like that, the tension broke. They talked over pasta and breadsticks. Vanessa asked Emma about school, about her favorite books, about whether she liked superheroes or princesses better. Emma answered with the kind of brutal honesty only a 5-year-old could manage, and Vanessa listened like it was the most important conversation she'd ever had. Logan watched them and felt something shift in his chest. After dinner, they walked to a nearby park. Emma ran ahead, chasing pigeons, while Logan and Vanessa followed at a slower pace. "She's wonderful," Vanessa said quietly. "Yeah, she is." "You're a good father, Logan." He didn't know what to say to that, so he just said, "Thanks." They walked in silence for a moment. Then Vanessa spoke again. "I don't know how to do this." "Do what?" "This. People. Relationships. I've spent so long focused on work that I forgot how to be normal." Logan stopped walking. You don't have to be normal. You just have to be yourself. Vanessa looked at him, and for the first time he saw vulnerability in her eyes. Real, unguarded. What if that's not enough? It is, Logan said simply. It always has been. She stared at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she smiled. Thank you, Logan. For what? For seeing me. And in that moment, standing in a park on a cold December night, with his daughter laughing in the distance, Logan realized something he hadn't let himself admit until now. He was falling for Vanessa Hale. And maybe, just maybe, she was falling for him too. The weeks that followed felt different. Vanessa still worked long hours, but she made time for dinners with Logan and Emma. They became a routine. Wednesday nights at different restaurants, Emma slowly warming up to Vanessa, the three of them finding a rhythm that felt natural. At work, things stabilized. Calloway was formally terminated after the investigation confirmed the offshore accounts. Langford quietly divested half his shares and stepped back from board involvement. Vanessa promoted 3 people from within, restructured the leadership team, and began rebuilding the company culture from the ground up. Logan stayed by her side through all of it, not as an assistant, as a partner. One night in late January, after Emma had fallen asleep on Vanessa's couch during movie night, Logan carried her to the car while Vanessa walked them out. She's getting comfortable here, Vanessa said, smiling. Yeah, she is. What about you? Logan looked at her. What do you mean? Are you comfortable here? He thought about that. About the dinners and the conversations, and the way Vanessa looked at Emma like she was something precious. About the way she looked at him. Yeah, he said quietly. I am. Vanessa stepped closer. Good, because I don't want this to end. Neither do I. She reached out and took his hand. Her fingers were warm against his. I'm not good at this, she said, but I want to try. With you. With Emma. I want to try. Logan squeezed her hand. Then we'll figure it out together. Vanessa smiled, real and unguarded and beautiful. And for the first time in 5 years, Logan felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. Spring arrived slowly, thawing the city block by block. Logan and Vanessa made it official in March, not with a grand announcement, just a quiet acknowledgement that what they had was real and worth protecting. Emma took the news with the casual acceptance of a 6-year-old who'd already decided Vanessa was part of the family. Work continued. The company grew. Vanessa led with the same strength she always had, but now she let people in, trusted them, built a team instead of an empire. And every Wednesday night, without fail, the 3 of them had dinner together. One evening in early May, after Emma had gone to bed, Logan and Vanessa sat on the couch in his apartment, her head resting on his shoulder. I've been thinking, Vanessa said. About what? About the future. About what comes next. Logan turned to look at her. And? She smiled. I want it to be with you, both of you. Logan felt his chest tighten, not with fear, but with something bigger, something that felt like home. Yeah, he said quietly. Me too. Vanessa kissed him, soft and certain, and in that moment, everything else fell away. They'd been through hell to get here, had fought battles and faced down demons and learned what it meant to trust another person completely. But they'd made it, together, and that was all that mattered. The transition from colleagues to something more wasn't a clean line. It was messy and uncertain and full of moments where neither of them knew what they were doing. Vanessa had spent her entire adult life building walls, and Logan had spent 2 years convincing himself he didn't have room for anything beyond Emma and work. So when they finally admitted what was happening between them, it came with baggage neither of them had fully unpacked. The first real fight happened in June. Logan had picked Emma up from school and brought her to the office because Mrs. Kowalski was visiting family in Milwaukee. Emma sat at his desk coloring while he finished a presentation deck. It was nearly 6 when Vanessa appeared, jacket off, sleeves rolled up, looking like she'd been in meetings all day. Hey, Logan said, standing. We're just wrapping up. Vanessa glanced at Emma, then at Logan. Can I talk to you for a minute? Sure. They stepped into a nearby conference room. Vanessa closed the door, and Logan could tell immediately that something was wrong. What happened? The Mitchell account just pulled out, Vanessa said flatly. $2 million. Gone. Logan's stomach dropped. Why? They said they're going with a more established firm, but I know what that means. Someone got to them. Langford? Maybe. Or one of his people. Vanessa rubbed her temples. We can't afford to lose accounts like this, Logan. Not now. I know. Do you? Her voice sharpened. Because I've been fighting to keep this company afloat for months, and every time I turn around, someone's trying to pull the rug out. Logan kept his voice even. I'm not the enemy here. I didn't say you were. Then don't talk to me like I am. Vanessa stopped, jaw tight. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then she exhaled slowly. I'm sorry. That wasn't fair. It's fine. No, it's not. She leaned against the table. I'm stressed. I'm tired. And I'm taking it out on you. Logan crossed his arms. You don't have to carry everything alone, you know. I know. Do you? Because it still feels like you're trying to. Vanessa looked at him, and for a moment he saw the cracks beneath the surface. The fear, the exhaustion, the weight of responsibility she'd been carrying for so long she'd forgotten what it felt like to set it down. I don't know how to do this differently, she admitted quietly. Logan stepped closer. Then let me help. She nodded, and some of the tension left her shoulders. Okay. They stood there for a moment, and then Vanessa smiled, small and tired, but real. I'm still figuring this out, she said. Yeah, me too. They went back to the office floor. Emma looked up from her coloring and waved. Vanessa waved back, and Logan saw something in her expression soften. They'd get through this. Somehow. The next morning, Logan woke to Emma standing beside his bed, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Daddy, I don't feel good. He sat up immediately, pressing a hand to her forehead. She was burning up. Okay, Bug, let's get you some medicine. He called in sick to work, spent the morning alternating between cool washcloths and fever reducers, and by noon, Emma was asleep on the couch, wrapped in her favorite blanket. Logan sat beside her, laptop balanced on his knees, trying to answer emails while keeping an eye on her breathing. His phone buzzed. Vanessa, how is she? Logan, fever's down a little. She's sleeping now. Vanessa, do you need anything? Logan, we're okay. Thanks. Vanessa, I'm coming by after work. Logan, you don't have to do that. Vanessa, I know, she showed up at 6:30 with a bag from the pharmacy and a container of soup from the Italian place Emma liked. Logan opened the door, and Vanessa stepped inside, setting everything on the kitchen counter. How is she? Better? Still tired? Vanessa looked past him to where Emma was curled up on the couch, rabbit tucked under her chin. Can I say hi? Yeah, just keep your voice down. Vanessa walked over and knelt beside the couch. Emma's eyes fluttered open. Hi, Vanessa said softly. Hi, Emma whispered back. I heard you're not feeling good. Emma shook her head. Well, I brought soup. And your dad said you like the kind with the little stars in it. Emma's lips curved into a small smile. I do. Good. Then you're going to eat some and get strong again, okay? Okay. Vanessa reached out and brushed a strand of hair from Emma's forehead. The gesture was so gentle, so natural, that Logan felt something shift in his chest. Emma fell back asleep, and Vanessa stood, joining Logan in the kitchen. He heated the soup while she unpacked the pharmacy bag, more fever reducers, a thermometer, popsicles for sore throats. You didn't have to do all this, Logan said. I wanted to. They ate dinner quietly while Emma slept. Vanessa asked questions about what the doctor had said, whether Emma had been sick like this before, how Logan usually managed when she was home from school. He answered honestly, and she listened without judgment. After dinner, Vanessa helped clean up, and they sat together on the floor beside the couch, backs against the wall, watching Emma sleep. I didn't grow up with this, Vanessa said after a while. With what? This kind of quiet, this kind of care. She glanced at him. My parents were busy, successful, but they weren't around much. I learned early that if I needed something, I had to handle it myself. Logan didn't say anything, just waited. So when I see you with Emma, Vanessa continued, The way you drop everything for her, the way you just show up, it's not something I understand, but I want to. You're doing fine. Am I? Yeah, you are. Vanessa looked over at Emma, and something vulnerable crossed her face. I don't want to mess this up. You won't. How do you know? Logan met her eyes. Because you care. That's the part that matters. Vanessa smiled, and they sat in silence until Emma stirred and asked for water. Logan got it for her, and Vanessa stayed until Emma drifted back to sleep. Then she gathered her things and headed for the door. Thank you, Logan said. For what? For being here. Vanessa leaned in and kissed him, soft and brief. Get some sleep. You too. She left, and Logan locked the door behind her. When he turned back, Emma was watching him from the couch, eyes half open. I like her, Daddy. Logan smiled. Yeah, Bug. Me too. By July, the three of them had settled into a rhythm. Wednesday dinners continued. Weekend trips to the zoo or the lakefront became routine. Emma's initial shyness around Vanessa faded, replaced by the kind of easy affection kids gave when they felt safe. But the pressure at work intensified. Sterling and Hale was bleeding accounts. Langford's influence hadn't disappeared, it had just gone underground. Clients were being contacted by competitors with insider knowledge. Contracts were mysteriously delayed. And the board, while no longer openly hostile, remained skeptical of Vanessa's ability to stabilize the company long term. Logan spent his days digging through communications, tracking patterns, trying to figure out where the leaks were coming from. Vanessa spent hers in back-to-back meetings, pitching new clients, reassuring existing ones, fighting to keep the ship afloat. One night in late July, Logan found her still in the office at 10, staring at spreadsheets with the kind of focus that meant she'd forgotten to eat. When's the last time you had food? He asked, setting a sandwich from the deli downstairs on her desk. Vanessa blinked, looking up like she'd just noticed he was there. Lunch? That was 9 hours ago. Was it? She glanced at the clock, then back at the screen. I need to finish this. You need to eat. Logan, eat first, then finish. She stared at him, and for a moment he thought she might argue, but then she picked up the sandwich and took a bite. He sat down across from her and waited. We're losing ground, Vanessa said after a moment. No matter how hard I push, it feels like we're always 2 steps behind. So what do we do? I don't know. She set the sandwich down. I've tried everything. New pitches, lower rates, better terms, and it's not enough. Then maybe we're fighting the wrong battle. Vanessa looked up. What do you mean? Logan leaned forward. We've been playing defense this whole time, reacting to whatever Langford throws at us. What if we went on offense? How? By proving you're not just surviving, you're innovating. Show the board and the client something they've never seen before, something Langford can't touch. Vanessa was quiet, but Logan could see the gears turning. What are you thinking? She asked. I'm thinking we stop trying to compete with the old guard and start building something new. A campaign that's so bold, so different, that it reminds everyone why Sterling and Hale matters. Vanessa's expression shifted from exhaustion to something sharper. You have something in mind? Yeah, I do. Done. They spent the next 2 weeks building the pitch. Logan pulled in the creative team but kept the circle small, only people he knew he could trust. They worked late nights and long weekends, refining concepts, testing messaging, building prototypes. Emma spent more time with Mrs. Kowalski, and Logan hated it, but there was no other choice. Vanessa was relentless. She pushed everyone harder than they'd ever been pushed, but she also listened when someone had a better idea. Slowly, the campaign took shape, a fully integrated digital experience for a mid-sized tech startup looking to break into the consumer market. Bold, risky, exactly the kind of thing no one expected from a traditional agency. The pitch meeting was scheduled for the second Tuesday in August. The client was a 32-year-old founder named Aisha Patel, who'd built her company from nothing and wasn't interested in safe choices. Logan and Vanessa walked into the meeting together. Marcus and 2 other senior creatives followed. Aisha sat at the head of the table, flanked by her CMO and CFO, all three of them looking skeptical. "Show me something I haven't seen before," Aisha said without preamble. Vanessa didn't flinch. "That's exactly what we're here to do." The pitch lasted 45 minutes. Logan handled the strategy. Marcus covered the creative execution. Vanessa tied it all together, speaking with the kind of confidence that made you believe anything was possible. When they finished, Aisha leaned back in her chair and looked at her team. They exchanged glances. Logan's stomach was in knots. "I've sat through 20 pitches in the last month," Aisha said finally, "and every single one of them has been a version of the same safe, boring garbage." She looked at Vanessa. "This isn't that." Vanessa's expression didn't change, but Logan saw her shoulders relax just slightly. "When can you start?" Aisha asked. "Tomorrow," Vanessa said without hesitation. Aisha smiled. "Good, let's do this." They shook hands, and Logan felt something he hadn't felt in months. Relief. Ascend. The Patel account changed everything. Within 2 weeks, word spread. Other startups reached out. A few mid-tier clients who'd been considering leaving decided to stay. The board stopped asking pointed questions about Vanessa's leadership and started asking about expansion. Langford made one last play in September, a quiet attempt to consolidate board votes and push Vanessa out. But the numbers didn't lie. Revenue was up, client satisfaction was up, and the company had momentum for the first time in a year. The vote wasn't even close. Langford resigned from the board entirely, and his remaining shares were bought out by a consortium of smaller investors who believed in Vanessa's vision. It was over. Logan found Vanessa in her office the night the news came through. She was standing at the window, staring out at the city, and when he came in, she didn't turn around. "You did it," Logan said. "We did it." He walked over and stood beside her. "How does it feel?" Vanessa was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Like I can finally breathe." Logan reached for her hand and she let him take it. "What happens now?" he asked. She turned to look at him, and for the first time in months, there was no tension in her face. No fear, just certainty. "Now we build something that lasts." Fall arrived with cooler air and shorter days. Emma started first grade, which she approached with the kind of nervous excitement that made Logan want to freeze time. Vanessa came to the first day of school, standing beside Logan outside the classroom while Emma lined up with her new classmates. "She's so small," Vanessa said quietly. "Yeah." "When did that happen?" Logan smiled. "I ask myself that every day." Emma turned and waved at them one more time before disappearing into the classroom. Logan felt the familiar ache of watching his daughter grow up too fast. But this time, Vanessa squeezed his hand, and the ache was a little easier to bear. They went to breakfast afterward at a diner near the school. Vanessa ordered coffee and pancakes. Logan got eggs and toast. They didn't talk about work, didn't talk about Langford or the board or any of the battles they'd fought. They just sat together, and it was enough. "I've been thinking," Vanessa said after a while. "About what?" "About where this is going, you and me." Logan set down his fork. "And?" "I want it to be real, not just dinners and weekends. I want to actually do this." Logan felt his pulse quicken. "Do what, exactly?" Vanessa met his eyes. "Move in together, the three of us. Build something that isn't just about surviving, it's about actually living." Logan stared at her. "Are you serious?" "Yes." "Vanessa, that's a lot, I know. And if you need time to think about it, I understand. But I'm tired of pretending this is casual. It's not. Not for me." Logan reached across the table and took her hand. "It's not casual for me either." "So is that a yes?" He smiled. "Yeah, it's a yes." Vanessa's face lit up in a way he'd never seen before. Pure, unfiltered joy. And in that moment, Logan realized that this was what he'd been waiting for without knowing it. Not perfection, not some idealized version of what love was supposed to look like. Just this. Just her. Just the three of them trying to figure it out together. They told Emma over dinner the next Wednesday. Logan had been nervous about how she'd react, but Emma just looked at Vanessa and said, "Does that mean you're going to live with us?" Yeah, Vanessa said. If that's okay with you. Emma thought about it for exactly 3 seconds. Okay, but you have to help with pancakes on Saturdays. Vanessa laughed. Deal. And just like that, it was decided. They spent the next month looking at apartments. Vanessa's place was too small. Logan's lease was up in December anyway. They needed something bigger, somewhere with space for Emma to run around, somewhere that felt like a home instead of just a place to sleep. They found it in late October, a 3-bedroom in Lincoln Park with hardwood floors and big windows, and a kitchen that actually had counter space. It was more than Logan had ever thought he could afford, but Vanessa insisted on splitting everything evenly, and somehow it worked. They moved in the week before Thanksgiving. Emma got the room with the window overlooking the park. Logan and Vanessa took the master. The 3rd bedroom became Logan's office, though Vanessa joked it would probably end up being a storage room within 6 months. The first night in the new place, they ordered pizza and ate it on the floor because they hadn't unpacked the table yet. Emma fell asleep between them, tomato sauce on her chin, and Logan looked over at Vanessa and thought, this is it. This is what I want for the rest of my life. Vanessa caught him staring. What? Nothing, just happy. She smiled. Yeah, me too. Thanksgiving was quiet. Logan's parents were gone, his dad years ago, his mom just last year, and Vanessa's family was scattered and distant in ways that had nothing to do with geography. So they made their own version of the holiday, just the 3 of them. Turkey from the grocery store, mashed potatoes that were slightly lumpy because Logan forgot to peel all the skins off, pie that Vanessa bought from a bakery and pretended she'd made until Emma called her out. They ate too much and watched a movie and fell asleep on the couch in a tangled pile of blankets and limbs. It wasn't perfect, but it was theirs. December brought the kind of cold that sank into your bones and didn't let go. The holidays were coming, and with them, a different kind of pressure. Emma asked one night while Logan was tucking her in, "Is Vanessa going to be here for Christmas?" "Yeah, Bug. She lives here now, remember?" "I know, but is she staying forever?" Logan sat on the edge of her bed. "Do you want her to?" Emma nodded. "Yeah, I like her. She makes you smile more." Logan felt his throat tighten. "She makes me happy." "Then she should stay." "Okay, I'll make sure she knows." Emma yawned and closed her eyes. Logan kissed her forehead and left the room, pulling the door almost closed behind him. Vanessa was in the kitchen, cleaning up from dinner. Logan walked over and wrapped his arms around her from behind. "Emma wants you to stay," he said. Vanessa leaned back against him. "Good, because I'm not going anywhere." Christmas morning arrived with snow falling thick and fast outside the windows. Emma woke them up at 6, bouncing on the bed and shouting about presents. Logan groaned. Vanessa laughed, and they stumbled out to the living room where the tree stood surrounded by wrapped boxes. Emma tore through her gifts with the focused intensity of a kid on a mission, books and art supplies and a stuffed dragon that she immediately named Steve. Vanessa gave Logan a watch he'd been eyeing for months, but would never have bought for himself. Logan gave Vanessa a first edition of her favorite novel, found after weeks of searching used bookstores online. And then, after Emma had run off to play with Steve, Vanessa handed Logan one more box. "What's this?" "Open it." He did. Inside was a key on a simple silver keychain. Logan looked up, confused. "A key to the apartment. I already have one." "Not the apartment." Vanessa's expression was serious but soft. "To everything. To this life we're building. To the future we're making together." She paused. "I know it's symbolic and maybe a little corny, but I wanted you to have something that reminds you. You're not alone anymore. You don't have to carry everything by yourself. I'm here, and I'm staying." Logan stared at the key, then at her, and felt something crack open in his chest. Not breaking, opening. "Thank you," he said quietly. "You don't have to thank me." "Yeah, I do." He kissed her, and it felt like a promise. The new year came fast and hard. Work ramped up again. The Patel campaign launched in January and immediately started generating buzz. Other clients took notice. Vanessa hired 3 new senior people, including a creative director who'd worked at one of the big agencies and wanted something different. Sterling and Hale wasn't just surviving anymore. It was thriving. But success came with new challenges, longer hours, more travel, more pressure to keep growing, keep innovating, keep proving that this wasn't just a fluke. Logan felt it too. He was managing more accounts now, working directly with clients, leading strategy sessions. It was what he'd wanted years ago, back before Emma, back when he still thought career success was the thing that mattered most. Now he knew better. But the hours were still long, and the balance was still hard. One night in late January, he came home to find Emma and Vanessa on the couch, watching a movie. Emma was asleep, head in Vanessa's lap. Vanessa was stroking her hair absently, eyes on the screen. Logan stood in the doorway and just watched them, his daughter, his girlfriend, the family he'd built piece by piece from the wreckage of his old life. Vanessa looked up and saw him. She smiled. Hey, long day? Yeah, you? Same. Logan walked over and sat beside them. Emma stirred but didn't wake. Vanessa leaned her head on his shoulder, and they stayed like that for a long time, the movie playing unwatched in the background. I love this, Vanessa said quietly. What? This, us, the quiet moments. Logan kissed the top of her head. Yeah, me too. And for the first time in a long time, he felt like he'd finally found what he'd been searching for all along. Not perfection, not some impossible ideal, just home. Dumped. February brought Valentine's Day, which Logan had never cared about, but Vanessa insisted they celebrate. They dropped Emma off with Mrs. Kowalski and went to dinner at a French place downtown. Candles and wine and food that was almost too beautiful to eat. Halfway through the meal, Vanessa reached across the table and took his hand. I need to tell you something. Logan's stomach dropped. Okay. I've been offered a position, CEO of a larger firm in New York, double the salary. Equity stake, the whole thing. Logan felt the world tilt. When? Last week. They want an answer by the end of the month. What are you going to say? Vanessa held his gaze. That depends. On what? On you. On Emma. On whether you'd come with me. Logan stared at her. You want us to move to New York? I want us to stay together. If that means staying here, I'll turn it down. If it means New York, then we go to New York. She squeezed his hand. I'm not doing this without you, Logan. Not anymore. Logan didn't know what to say. The idea of uprooting Emma, leaving the life they'd just built, it felt impossible. But the idea of Vanessa walking away from an opportunity like that because of him felt just as wrong. I need to think about it, he said finally. I know. Take your time. They finished dinner in near silence, and the drive home was quiet. Logan's mind was spinning. Emma was finally settled in school. Mrs. Kowalski was across the hall. Their apartment felt like home for the first time in years, but Vanessa's career mattered too, and he didn't want to be the reason she gave up something this big. That night, after Vanessa had gone to bed, Logan sat in the kitchen and tried to figure out what the right answer was. There wasn't one, just choices and consequences, and the hope that whatever they decided, they'd figure it out together. Logan didn't sleep that night. He lay in bed next to Vanessa, listening to her breathe, and tried to imagine what their lives would look like in New York. Different schools, different streets, different everything. Emma had just started to feel comfortable here. She had friends at school. She knew the route to the park. She trusted Mrs. Kowalski. And Logan had finally stopped feeling like he was failing at everything. But when he looked at Vanessa, at the way she'd fought for this company, at the sacrifices she'd made, at the career she'd built from nothing, he couldn't ask her to give up more. She'd already compromised so much just to make room for him and Emma in her life. He slipped out of bed at 5, made coffee, and sat at the kitchen table watching the sun come up over the buildings across the street. Vanessa found him there an hour later, still in her pajamas, hair loose around her shoulders. You didn't sleep, she said. No. She poured herself coffee and sat across from him. Talk to me. Logan rubbed his face. I don't know what the right answer is. There isn't one. There's just what we decide together. But it's your career, Vanessa. This is huge. I can't be the reason you turn it down. And I can't be the reason you and Emma lose the stability you just found. She reached across the table. So we figure it out. We look at the options. We talk to Emma. We make a choice we can both live with. What if there isn't one? Then we keep talking until there is. Logan looked at her, and something in his chest loosened. She wasn't asking him to have all the answers. She was asking him to figure it out with her. "Okay," he said. "Let's talk to Emma." They waited until that evening after dinner. Emma was at the table drawing pictures of Steve the dragon fighting a knight made entirely of ice cream. Logan and Vanessa sat on either side of her, and Logan wasn't sure how to start. Vanessa did it for him. "Emma, we need to talk to you about something important." Emma looked up, suddenly serious. "Am I in trouble?" "No, Bug. Nothing like that." Logan took a breath. "Vanessa got offered a really good job, but it's in New York." Emma's eyes went wide. "Like New York City? With the big buildings?" "Yeah." "Are we moving there?" "We don't know yet," Vanessa said gently. "That's why we're talking to you, because this is a decision we all have to make together." Emma looked between them. "Would I have to leave my school?" "Yeah," Logan said. "You would." "And Mrs. Kowalski?" "She'd stay here. But we could still call her, and maybe visit." Emma's face crumpled, and Logan's heart broke. "I don't want to leave." Vanessa reached over and took Emma's hand. "I know, sweetheart, and we're not going to make you do anything you don't want to do. But sometimes grown-ups have to make hard choices, and we wanted you to know what we're thinking about." Emma was quiet for a long moment. Then she looked at Vanessa. "Is this job really important to you?" Vanessa hesitated. "It's a good opportunity. But what's more important to me is you and your dad." "But you want it." Yeah, I do." Emma nodded slowly, like she was processing something much bigger than a 6-year-old should have to think about. Then she looked at Logan. "What do you want, Daddy?" Logan felt his throat tighten. "I want you to be happy, and I want Vanessa to be happy. And I don't know how to make both of those things happen at the same time." Emma picked up her purple crayon and added a crown to the ice cream knight's head. "Can we think about it?" "Yeah, Bug. We can think about it." She went back to drawing, and Logan exchanged a look with Vanessa. They'd bought themselves time, but they still didn't have an answer. The next week was tense. Logan and Vanessa were careful around each other, both of them trying not to push, both of them aware that whatever they decided would change everything. Work continued. Dinner happened. Bedtime routines stayed the same, but underneath it all was the question neither of them wanted to ask out loud. What if we can't make this work? On Thursday night, Logan was helping Emma with her homework when his phone buzzed. It was Marcus. "Marcus, need to talk. Can you come in early tomorrow?" Logan frowned and typed back. "Logan, what's going on?" Marcus, "Just come in." 7 a.m. Logan showed up at 6:45 the next morning to find Marcus already in the conference room with 2 other members of the leadership team. Vanessa wasn't there. "What's this about?" Logan asked, setting his bag down. Marcus glanced at the others, then back at Logan. "We heard about the New York offer." Logan went still. "How?" "Doesn't matter. What matters is we can't afford to lose Vanessa, so we're putting together a counteroffer." "A counteroffer?" "Yeah, co-CEO structure. She stays, but she gets full autonomy over strategic direction. Salary increase, equity bump, whatever it takes." Logan sat down slowly. "Does she know about this?" "Not yet. We wanted to talk to you first." "Why?" Marcus leaned forward. "Because you're the reason she's even considering staying. And if you want her to stay, we need you to help us make the case." Logan stared at him. "You're asking me to convince her to turn down a better opportunity so she can stay here. We're asking you to remind her what she's built, what she'd be walking away from. That's not fair." "Maybe not, but it's reality." Marcus crossed his arms. "Look, I know you and Vanessa have something. I'm not blind, and I know you're trying to figure out what's best for your kid, but Sterling and Hale needs her. And honestly, I think she needs this place too." Logan wanted to argue, but he couldn't, because part of him agreed. Vanessa had poured everything into this company. Walking away from it now, even for something bigger, would hurt her in ways she probably hadn't let herself consider yet. "I'll talk to her," Logan said finally. "Good. We're presenting the counteroffer Monday morning." Logan left the meeting feeling like he'd just agreed to something he didn't fully understand. And when he got to his desk, Vanessa was waiting. "What was that about?" she asked. Logan hesitated. Then he told her everything. Vanessa listened without interrupting. When he finished, she leaned back in her chair and exhaled slowly. "They want me to stay." "Yeah. And they want you to convince me." "I'm not going to do that." She looked at him. "No?" "No. This is your decision, Vanessa, not theirs, not mine, yours." Vanessa's expression softened. "What if I don't know what I want?" "Then we keep talking until you do." She smiled, small and tired. "You always say that." "Because it's true." The counteroffer came Monday morning exactly as Marcus had promised. Co-CEO. Full strategic control. A salary that matched the New York offer and equity that put her on track to eventually own a majority stake in the company. Vanessa sat in her office reading through the proposal while Logan waited. She didn't speak for a long time. Then she set the papers down and looked at him. "This is a good offer." "It is, but it's not just about money." "I know." She stood and walked to the window, arms crossed. "If I stay, nothing really changes. Same city, same company, same battles, just with a bigger title." "And if you go?" "If I go, I start over. New team, new vision, new everything." She paused. "And I take you and Emma away from the life you just built." Logan stood and joined her at the window. "We'll figure it out either way." "Will we?" "Yeah." Vanessa turned to face him. "I need you to be honest with me. Do you want to move to New York?" Logan thought about it. Really thought about it. Not what was easiest, not what was safest, but what he actually wanted. "I want you to be happy," he said carefully. "And if New York is what makes you happy, then yeah, we'll go." "That's not an answer." "Yes, it is." "Logan, I spent 2 years just surviving, making sure Emma had what she needed, making sure we didn't fall apart. And then you came along, and suddenly I had something more than just survival." He took her hands. "So yeah, moving scares me. Uprooting Emma scares me, but losing you scares me more. So if you want New York, we'll make it work." Vanessa stared at him, and he could see her eyes getting wet. "You'd really do that?" "Yeah, I would." She pulled him into a hug, holding on tight. "I don't deserve you." "Yeah, you do." They stood like that for a long time. Then Vanessa pulled back and wiped her eyes. "I need to think," she said. "Okay." "And I need to talk to Emma again." "Okay." "And I need you to stop being so damn understanding all the time because it makes it really hard to know what the right answer is." Logan smiled. "Sorry." She kissed him, and then she went back to her desk and picked up the phone. Logan left her to it and went back to work, trying not to think about what would happen next. That night, Vanessa asked if she could talk to Emma alone. Logan agreed, nervous but trusting. He sat in the living room pretending to read while Vanessa and Emma talked in Emma's bedroom. He couldn't hear what they were saying, but he heard Emma laugh once, and that felt like a good sign. 20 minutes later, Vanessa emerged. Her face was calm, but her eyes were red. "What happened?" Logan asked, standing. "She told me I should take the job if it makes me happy. And then she asked if we could get a dog when we move because apartments in New York allow dogs, and she's always wanted one." Logan felt his chest tighten. "She said when we move, not if." "Yeah." Vanessa, I know." She sat down on the couch, and Logan sat beside her. "She's 6 years old, and she's trying to make this easier for me. That's who she is. I don't want her to have to be that person. Not yet." Logan took her hand. "Then don't make her. You don't have to decide tonight. The New York firm gave you until the end of the month. Sterling and Hale can wait too. Just breathe." Vanessa leaned her head on his shoulder. "I'm so tired of making impossible decisions." "I know. I just want to know what the right answer is. Maybe there isn't one. Maybe there's just what we choose and what we do with it after." Vanessa was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "When did you get so wise?" "I'm not wise. I'm just a guy who's made a lot of mistakes and learned from most of them." She smiled. "I love you." It was the first time she'd said it. Logan felt everything stop. "What?" I love you. I should have said it a long time ago, but I was scared, and I'm still scared. But I need you to know. Logan turned to face her. I love you too. They kissed, and it felt like something locking into place. Not perfect, not easy, but right. The next 2 weeks were a blur. Vanessa met with the New York firm twice more, negotiating terms and asking questions. She met with the Sterling and Hale board to discuss the co-CEO offer and what it would actually mean day to day. And she talked to Logan and Emma every night, weighing options, processing fears, trying to figure out what the future looked like. Logan did his best to support her without pushing. He answered honestly when she asked for his opinion. He held her when she cried from the stress, and he reminded her that whatever she chose, he was with her. Emma, meanwhile, seemed to have made peace with the idea of moving. She started asking questions about New York, whether there were parks, whether she'd have her own room, whether they'd be able to see the Statue of Liberty. Logan answered as best he could, even though he didn't know what their life would look like there. And then on a Friday afternoon in late February, Vanessa called Logan into her office and closed the door. I made a decision, she said. Logan's heart was pounding. Okay, I'm staying. Logan blinked. What? I'm staying. I'm taking the co-CEO position. I'm staying in Chicago. Are you sure? No, but I'm doing it anyway. She sat on the edge of her desk. The New York job is incredible. It's everything I thought I wanted. But when I really thought about it, about leaving Sterling and Hale, about leaving the team I've built, about taking you and Emma away from the life you just started to feel secure in, I realized it wasn't worth it. Vanessa, I know what you're going to say, that I'm giving up something big, that I'm putting you ahead of my career. But that's not what this is. She met his eyes. I built this company. I fought for it. And I'm not done fighting. The co-CEO structure gives me everything I need to keep growing Sterling and Hale into something even better than what that New York firm is offering. And I get to do it here, with you, with Emma, with the life we're building together. Logan felt his throat tighten. You're really sure? Yeah, I am. He crossed the room and pulled her into a hug. Thank you. For what? For choosing us. You don't have to thank me for that. This is what I want. They held each other for a long moment. Then Vanessa pulled back and smiled. Now we just have to tell Marcus he won. Logan laughed. He's going to be insufferable. Oh, absolutely. Pause. The announcement went out Monday morning. Vanessa Hale would remain with Sterling and Hale as co-CEO alongside Marcus Vaughn, with full authority over strategic vision and client relations. The board released a statement celebrating the decision and outlining the company's growth plans for the next 5 years. The office erupted in subdued celebration. People were relieved. The uncertainty was over. Vanessa was staying. Logan watched from his desk as people congratulated her, shook her hand, told her they were glad she wasn't leaving. And when she caught his eye across the room, she smiled in a way that was just for him. That night, they told Emma together. We're staying, Vanessa said. We're not moving to New York. Emma looked up from her drawing. Really? Really? But I thought you wanted that job. I did, but I want this more. Vanessa knelt down so they were eye level. I want to be here with you and your dad. I want to keep building our life together, and I don't need to go to New York to do that. Emma threw her arms around Vanessa's neck. I'm glad you're staying. Vanessa hugged her back, and Logan saw tears on her face. Me too, sweetheart. Me too. Quote. March came in cold and wet, but by the end of the month, the city started to thaw. Spring was coming. The days got longer. The park across from their apartment turned green again. Work settled into a new rhythm. Vanessa and Marcus made the co-CEO structure work by dividing responsibilities cleanly. Vanessa handled vision and client strategy. Marcus managed operations and internal teams. It wasn't always smooth, but it was functional. And slowly, Sterling and Hale started to grow again. Logan took on more responsibility too. He was promoted to senior strategist, leading a small team of his own. It meant longer hours sometimes, but it also meant respect, stability, and the kind of career momentum he'd thought was gone forever after Emma was born. And at home, the three of them found their rhythm too. Homework and dinner and bedtime routines. Weekend trips to the zoo or the lakefront. Movie nights where Emma inevitably fell asleep halfway through and Logan carried her to bed while Vanessa cleaned up the popcorn. It wasn't perfect. There were still hard days, days when Emma got sick and Logan had to miss work, days when Vanessa was so stressed she snapped at both of them and then apologized for an hour, days when Logan wondered if he was doing enough, being enough, holding everything together well enough. But those days got fewer, and the good days started to outnumber them. On a Saturday in early April, Logan woke to sunlight streaming through the bedroom window and the smell of coffee drifting in from the kitchen. He got up, pulled on a t-shirt, and found Vanessa already dressed, leaning against the counter with a mug in her hands. "You're up early," he said. "Couldn't sleep." "Why?" She set down the mug and turned to face him. "Because I've been thinking about something, and I need to ask you before I lose my nerve." Logan's stomach flipped. "Okay." Vanessa took a breath. "I want us to get married." Logan stared at her. "What?" "I know we've only been together a little over a year. I know we're still figuring things out, but I don't want to wait anymore. I don't need a big wedding or a fancy proposal. I just need you to say yes." Logan felt like the floor had dropped out from under him, not in a bad way, just in a way that made it hard to find words. "You're serious," he said. "Completely." "Vanessa, if it's too soon, I understand, but I needed to tell you how I feel. I love you, I love Emma, and I want to make this official. I want us to be a family, not just in practice, but legally, permanently." Logan crossed the kitchen and took her hands. "Yes." Vanessa blinked. "Yes?" "Yeah, yes, let's get married." Her face broke into the biggest smile he'd ever seen. "Really? Really?" She kissed him, and it felt like every good decision he'd ever made had led to this moment. When they pulled apart, Vanessa was crying. "I don't have a ring." Logan laughed. "I don't care. I should have planned this better." It was perfect. She wiped her eyes, still smiling. "We should tell Emma." "Yeah, let's tell Emma." They woke her up gently, and Emma blinked at them sleepily. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong, Bug," Logan said. "We just wanted to tell you something." Emma sat up, rubbing her eyes. "What?" Vanessa sat on the edge of the bed. "Your dad and I are going to get married." Emma's eyes went wide. "Like for real married?" "Yeah, for real." Emma looked between them. "Does that mean Vanessa's going to be my mom?" Logan felt his chest tighten. He glanced at Vanessa, who looked like she was about to cry again. "If you want me to be," Vanessa said softly. Emma thought about it for exactly 2 seconds. Then she launched herself at Vanessa, hugging her tight. "Yes, I want you to be my mom." Vanessa held her, tears streaming down her face. "Okay, then I will be." Logan watched them, and he felt something break open inside him. Not pain, not sadness, just a kind of overwhelming gratitude that he didn't have words for. His life hadn't turned out the way he'd planned, not even close. But somehow, impossibly, it had turned out better. They got married in May. Nothing big, just a small ceremony at the courthouse with Emma as their witness and Mrs. Kowalski crying in the front row. Marcus showed up, awkward but genuine, and gave a toast about Vanessa being the most terrifying and impressive person he'd ever worked with. A few friends from work came. Emma wore a flower crown she'd made herself. Vanessa wore a simple white dress. Logan wore the suit from the gala, altered to actually fit. And when the judge asked if they took each other, they both said yes without hesitation. Afterward, they went to lunch at the Italian place Emma loved. Just the three of them. No reception, no big party, just pasta and laughter and Emma asking if she could have cake for dinner now that they were officially a family. "Not how it works, Bug," Logan said. "But we're celebrating." Vanessa laughed. "She has a point." So they got cake, and they went home. And they fell asleep that night as a family. Not just in practice, but in every way that mattered. Summer came fast. Emma finished first grade and spent her days at a day camp near their apartment. Logan and Vanessa juggled work and pickup schedules and the constant low-level chaos of parenting a 7-year-old. But they did it together. And on the nights when Emma was asleep and the apartment was quiet, Logan and Vanessa would sit on the couch and just exist beside each other. No work, no plans, just presence. One night in late June, Vanessa said, I never thought I'd have this. Have what? A family. A life outside of work. Someone who sees me and doesn't expect me to be perfect all the time. Logan took her hand. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be here. She leaned her head on his shoulder. I'm not going anywhere. Good, because neither am I. They sat in comfortable silence, and Logan thought about everything they'd been through. The gala, the fights, the decision about New York, the proposal, the wedding. None of it had been easy. None of it had been smooth, but all of it had been worth it. Because this, sitting here with Vanessa, knowing Emma was safe in her room, knowing they'd built something real and solid and lasting, this was everything. And for the first time in years, Logan wasn't just surviving. He was living. The call came on a Tuesday morning in late August while Logan was in the middle of a client presentation. His phone buzzed once, then again, then a third time in rapid succession. He ignored it, but when it rang outright, he excused himself and stepped into the hallway. It was Emma's school. Mr. Pierce, this is Principal Davison. Emma's fine, but we need you to come pick her up. There's been an incident. Logan's heart dropped. What kind of incident? She got into a fight with another student. She's not hurt, but we need to discuss this with you in person. Logan was in the car 10 minutes later, driving too fast through midday traffic. Emma had never been in a fight, never even come close. She was gentle, cautious, the kind of kid who cried when other kids got hurt. He found her sitting in the principal's office, arms crossed, face red and blotchy from crying. Principal Davison was behind her desk, and a woman Logan didn't recognize sat in the other chair with a boy who looked about Emma's age. Mr. Pierce, Principal Davison said. Thank you for coming. Logan knelt beside Emma. You okay, Bug? She nodded, but didn't look at him. Principal Davison folded her hands on the desk. Emma and Dylan here had an altercation during recess. According to witnesses, Dylan made a comment about Emma's family situation, and Emma responded by pushing him. He fell and scraped his knee. Logan looked at Emma. Is that true? Emma's jaw tightened. He said, you and Vanessa aren't my real parents because you're not married long enough, and Vanessa's not my real mom because she didn't birth me. Logan felt anger flare in his chest. He turned to Dylan, whose mother was already opening her mouth to speak. My son was just stating facts, the woman said. I don't appreciate him being physically assaulted for telling the truth. Logan's voice was measured but hard. Your son wasn't stating facts. He was being cruel. Excuse me? You heard me. Emma's family is her family. It doesn't matter how long we've been married or how she came to be part of it. And if Dylan learned that kind of thinking at home, that's something you need to address. The woman's face went red. How dare you? Mr. Pierce, Principal Davison interrupted. I understand you're upset, but Emma still pushed another student. That's against school policy, regardless of provocation. Logan looked at Emma. She was staring at the floor, tears dripping onto her lap. Emma, he said gently, look at me. She did, reluctantly. Did Dylan say those things? Yes. And did you push him? Yes. Why? Because he was wrong and mean, and I wanted him to stop. Logan's heart ached. He looked back at Principal Davison. What's the consequence? 1 day suspension. She can return Thursday. Logan nodded and stood. Come on, Bug. Let's go home. Emma grabbed her backpack and followed him out without looking at Dylan or his mother. They walked to the car in silence. Logan opened the door for her and she climbed in, buckling herself without a word. He got in the driver's seat, but didn't start the car right away. Talk to me, he said. Emma stared at her hands. Are you mad? No, but I need to understand what happened. Dylan said you and Vanessa weren't really my parents. That Vanessa's just pretending because you got married. That my real mom left because she didn't want me. Logan felt his chest constrict. Emma, and I told him he was wrong. That Vanessa is my mom because she wants to be. And that my real mom leaving doesn't mean anything because I have a better family now. But he kept saying it, kept laughing, so I pushed him. Logan reached over and took her hand. I'm not mad at you for defending yourself, but pushing him wasn't the right way to handle it. Then what was I supposed to do? Tell a teacher. Walk away. Come home and tell me so we could talk to the school. Emma's face crumpled. But that wouldn't have made him stop. Maybe not. But it would have kept you from getting in trouble. She wiped her eyes. I'm sorry, Daddy. I know, Bug, and we're going to talk about this more at home, but right now I need you to know something. He waited until she looked at him. Dylan was wrong. About all of it. Vanessa is your mom. I'm your dad. And the way we became a family doesn't make it any less real. I know. Good. Don't forget that. He started the car and drove home. When they got to the apartment, Vanessa was already there, having left work early after Logan texted her what happened. She was sitting on the couch, and when Emma walked in, Vanessa opened her arms. Emma ran to her and buried her face in Vanessa's shoulder. Vanessa held her tight, rocking slightly, whispering something Logan couldn't hear. He stood in the doorway and watched them, and he felt the weight of everything they'd been through settle in his chest. They'd built this. The three of them. Against doubt and judgment, and people like Dylan's mother who thought family only counted if it fit a certain mold. After a while, Emma pulled back and looked at Vanessa. Dylan said, "You're not my real mom." Vanessa brushed hair from Emma's face. What do you think? I think he's stupid. Vanessa smiled. He's not stupid, he's just wrong. And scared people say wrong things sometimes. Why would he be scared? Because families like ours, where people choose each other instead of just being born into it, that's something not everyone understands. And when people don't understand something, they try to make it seem less important. But it's not. What we have is just as real as any other family. More real, even, because we fought for it. Emma thought about that. I still shouldn't have pushed him. No, you shouldn't have, but I understand why you did. Am I in big trouble? You're suspended for a day, and you're going to write an apology to Dylan for pushing him, not for defending yourself, just for the pushing. Emma nodded. Okay. And then we're going to move on, because Dylan doesn't get to define who we are. Emma hugged Vanessa again, and Logan felt something tighten in his throat. Later that night, after Emma was in bed, Logan and Vanessa sat in the kitchen. Vanessa had made tea, neither of them was drinking. They just needed something to do with their hands. I hate that she had to deal with that, Vanessa said quietly. Yeah, me too. Do you think it'll happen again? Probably. Kids are mean, and people talk. Vanessa wrapped her hands around her mug. I knew this would be hard, being a stepmother, coming into her life when she already had you. But I didn't think about the other stuff, the judgment, the comments. You're not a stepmother, Logan said. You're her mom. That's what she calls you. That's what you are. But to the rest of the world doesn't matter. We do, the three of us. That's it. Vanessa looked at him, and he could see the doubt in her eyes, the fear that maybe she wasn't enough, that maybe Emma would always see her as something less than. She loves you, Logan said, more than you know, and nothing Dylan or his mother or anyone else says will change that. Vanessa nodded, but Logan could tell she was still processing it, still trying to believe it was true. They sat in silence for a while. Then Vanessa said, I want to adopt her. Logan looked up. What? Legally. I want to adopt Emma, so there's no question. So no one can ever say I'm not really her mother. Logan felt something crack open in his chest. You're serious. Completely. Vanessa, I know it's a lot, and if you don't want to, I understand. But I need her to know that I'm not going anywhere, that this isn't temporary, that I chose her and I'm choosing her every day for the rest of my life. Logan stood, crossed to her side of the table, and pulled her into a hug. Yes, let's do it. Vanessa held on tight. Thank you. You don't have to thank me. She's your daughter. She has been since the day you walked into our lives. They stayed like that for a long time, and when they finally pulled apart, Logan saw something in Vanessa's face that hadn't been there before. Peace. Then, the adoption process started in September. Logan called a lawyer who specialized in family law, and they began gathering paperwork. Emma's birth certificate, Logan's custody agreement, proof of Vanessa and Logan's marriage, character references, medical records. It was exhausting and invasive and took up more time than either of them had, but they pushed through. Emma, when they told her, didn't fully understand what adoption meant. But she understood that Vanessa's name would be on official documents alongside Logan's. That if anything ever happened to Logan, Vanessa would be her legal guardian. That no one could ever question whether Vanessa was really her mother. "Does that mean I can call you Mom instead of Vanessa?" Emma asked. Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. "If you want to." Emma thought about it. "I think I do." And just like that, Vanessa became Mom. Work, meanwhile, continued to evolve. Sterling and Hale landed 2 more major accounts in the fall, both of them attracted by the Patel campaign's success. Vanessa and Marcus settled into their co-CEO roles with surprising efficiency. Marcus handled operations and kept the trains running on time. Vanessa focused on vision and growth, pushing the company into new markets and service areas. Logan's team grew too. He hired 3 new strategists and started mentoring junior staff. It was the kind of leadership role he'd always wanted but never thought he'd get after Emma was born. Now he had it, and it felt right. But the hours were long. 60-hour weeks became the norm. Vanessa was traveling more, quick trips to New York and San Francisco to meet with potential clients. Logan was managing more accounts and putting out more fires, and Emma was spending more time with Mrs. Kowalski or at after-school programs. One night in October, Emma said over dinner, "I miss you guys." Logan looked up from his plate. "What do you mean, Bug? We're right here." "I know, but you're always working, or tired, or thinking about work." Logan exchanged a look with Vanessa. Emma was right. They'd been so focused on building careers and proving themselves that they'd stopped being fully present. "You're right," Vanessa said. "We've been working too much." "It's okay. I know your jobs are important." "They are, but you're more important." Emma smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. That night, after Emma was in bed, Logan and Vanessa had their first real fight in months. "We can't keep doing this," Logan said. "Doing what?" "Working ourselves into the ground, missing dinners, coming home too exhausted to do anything but collapse." Vanessa crossed her arms. "What do you want me to do, Logan? Quit? The company needs me." "I'm not asking you to quit. I'm asking you to set boundaries." "I have boundaries." "Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like work still comes first." Vanessa's jaw tightened. "That's not fair." "Isn't it? When's the last time you were home before 7? When's the last time we had a full weekend without you taking calls or answering emails? I'm the CEO, Logan. That's the job. And I'm your husband. Emma's your daughter. That's supposed to be the priority." Vanessa stared at him, and he could see the anger and frustration and exhaustion warring on her face. Then she sat down heavily on the couch. "I don't know how to do this," she said quietly. "Do what?" "Balance everything. Be good at my job and good at being a wife and a mother. I feel like I'm failing at all of it." Logan sat beside her. "You're not failing. It feels like I am." "Then we figure it out together. We set limits, we protect our time. We make sure Emma knows she comes first." Vanessa looked at him. "What if I can't do that and still be the CEO this company needs?" "Then maybe you need to redefine what kind of CEO you want to be." She was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Okay, let's try." Okay. They started small. No work calls after 8. Sundays were family days with no exceptions. Vanessa delegated more to her leadership team. Logan stopped checking emails during dinner. And slowly, things started to shift. Emma noticed. She smiled more, laughed more, started telling them about her day without prompting, and the apartment felt less like a place they all happened to sleep and more like a home again. In November, the adoption was finalized. They went to court on a Thursday morning, and the judge asked Emma if she understood what was happening. Emma said yes, very seriously, and explained that Vanessa was already her mom, but now it would be official. The judge smiled and signed the papers. Afterward, they went out for pancakes, and Emma asked if she could have her name changed too. "Changed to what?" Logan asked. "Emma Hale Pierce, so everyone knows I belong to both of you." Vanessa started crying. Logan did too, and they filled out the paperwork right there at the table, with syrup on their fingers and smiles on their faces. The holidays came fast. Thanksgiving was at their apartment with Mrs. Kowalski and a few friends from work. Emma helped cook, which mostly meant she made a mess and ate half the ingredients before they made it into dishes. But no one cared. It was loud and chaotic and perfect. Christmas was quieter. Just the three of them. They decorated the tree together, with Emma insisting on putting the star on top, even though she needed Logan to lift her. They watched movies and drank hot chocolate and stayed in pajamas all day. On Christmas night, after Emma was asleep, Logan and Vanessa sat by the tree with the lights on and the apartment dark. "This is what I wanted," Vanessa said. "What?" "This, a family, a life that isn't just work and ambition and proving myself, something real." Logan took her hand. "You have it." "I know, and I'm terrified I'm going to screw it up." "You won't." "How do you know?" "Because you love us, and that's enough." Vanessa leaned her head on his shoulder. "I hope you're right." "I am." They sat in comfortable silence, and Logan thought about how far they'd come. From that night at the gala to this, married, a family, building something that mattered. It hadn't been easy, it hadn't been smooth, but it had been worth every second. The new year brought new challenges. Marcus announced in January that he wanted to step back from day-to-day operations. He'd been with the company for 15 years and he was tired. He wanted to consult part-time, maybe travel, spend more time with his own family, which meant Vanessa would be sole CEO again. She came home that night looking shell-shocked. Logan made dinner while she sat at the table staring at nothing. "You okay?" he asked. "I don't know." "Talk to me. I thought I wanted this." "Full control. No one questioning my decisions, but now that it's happening, I'm terrified." "Why?" "Because I finally have the balance I've been fighting for. Work that matters but doesn't consume me. Time with you and Emma. A life. And if I take this on, I'm afraid I'll lose all of that." Logan sat across from her. "Then don't take it." Vanessa looked up. "What?" "Don't take it. Promote someone else. Stay co-CEO with a new partner. Structure it however you want. But if being sole CEO means sacrificing what we've built, then it's not worth it." "Logan, I've worked my entire life for this." "I know, but you've also spent the last year building something better, and you get to choose which one matters more." Vanessa stared at him. "You really mean that?" "Yeah, I do." She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "What if I promoted you?" Logan blinked. "What?" "Co-CEO. You and me. You already do half the strategic work. The team respects you, and I trust you more than anyone." "Vanessa, I'm not—" "Don't say you're not ready. You are. You've been ready for months. You just haven't let yourself believe it." Logan felt his heart pounding. Co-CEO. It was insane. It was impossible. But when he looked at Vanessa, he saw that she meant it, completely. "Can I think about it?" he asked. "Of course. But Logan?" She reached across the table. "I don't want to do this without you. Any of it. Work, life, all of it. So whatever you decide, we do it together." Logan squeezed her hand. "Okay. Together." He spent the next week thinking. Talking to Emma, who thought it was cool that her dad might be a CEO. Talking to Mrs. Kowalski, who told him he'd be an idiot not to take it. Talking to Marcus, who said Logan was the only person he trusted to actually support Vanessa instead of trying to undermine her. And talking to Vanessa late at night when Emma was asleep and the apartment was quiet. About what the job would mean. About how they'd structure responsibilities. About how they'd protect their family time while still running a company. In the end, the decision wasn't hard. Logan said yes. The announcement went out in February. Logan Pierce and Vanessa Hale would serve as co-CEOs of Sterling and Hale, effective immediately. Marcus would transition to an advisory role. The board approved unanimously. The reaction was mixed. Some people were thrilled. Others thought it was nepotism. A few made comments about Logan riding Vanessa's coattails. But Logan didn't care. He knew what he brought to the table. And more importantly, Vanessa knew. They restructured the leadership team, promoted 2 senior directors, and spent the next 6 months rebuilding Sterling and Hale from the ground up. New systems, new processes, a culture that valued results over hours worked, flexibility over FaceTime, trust over micromanagement. And it worked. By the end of the year, revenue was up 30%. Client retention was the highest it had been in a decade, and employee satisfaction scores were through the roof. But more than that, Logan and Vanessa were happy. They worked hard, but they also left work at work. They had dinner with Emma every night. They took weekends off. They built a life that was about more than just success. It was about presence. One night in late September, Logan was putting Emma to bed when she said, "Daddy, are you happy?" He smiled. "Yeah, Bug, I am." "Like really happy? Not just pretend happy?" "Really happy. Why?" Emma shrugged. "I just wanted to make sure. Because you smile a lot now, more than you used to." Logan felt his throat tighten. "That's because I have you, and Mom, and a life I actually like." Emma grinned. "I like our life too." "Good." He kissed her forehead and turned off the light. When he came back to the living room, Vanessa was on the couch reading a book. She looked up when he sat beside her. "Everything okay?" "Yeah, just thinking." "About what?" "About how different things are now, how much better." Vanessa set down her book. "You ever regret it, saying yes to all this?" "Not once." "Even when it's hard?" "Especially when it's hard, because the hard stuff means it matters." Vanessa smiled and leaned into him. "I love you. I love you too." They sat together in comfortable silence, and Logan thought about the man he used to be, the one who thought he had to do everything alone, the one who was so focused on survival that he forgot what it felt like to actually live. That man was gone now, replaced by someone who knew that strength wasn't about doing it alone. It was about letting the right people in. And he'd let Vanessa in. Let her see his fears and his failures and his flaws. And instead of walking away, she'd stayed. She'd chosen him, chosen Emma, chosen this messy, imperfect, beautiful life they were building together. And that was worth everything. The crisis hit in March, 3 years after Logan had first walked into Sterling and Hale. It started with a phone call from their largest client, a tech conglomerate that accounted for nearly 20% of their annual revenue. The CMO, a woman named Rachel Ortiz who'd worked with Vanessa for years, sounded strained when she asked for an emergency meeting. Logan and Vanessa arrived at the client's downtown office expecting contract negotiations or maybe a request for additional services. Instead, they walked into a conference room where Rachel sat with her CFO and general counsel, all three of them looking grim. "We're pulling the account," Rachel said without preamble. Vanessa went still. "Why?" "It's not about your work. Your team has been phenomenal, but our board is restructuring. They're consolidating vendors, and they've decided to move all marketing in-house." "When?" Logan asked. "End of the quarter. 6 weeks." 6 weeks to replace 20% of their revenue. Logan did the math in his head and felt his stomach drop. They'd need to land at least 3 major accounts just to stay level, and pitching that many clients in that short a time frame was nearly impossible. Vanessa's expression didn't change. She thanked Rachel for the advance notice, shook hands, and walked out of the building with her head high. Logan followed, and they made it to the car before Vanessa finally let herself react. "We're in trouble," she said quietly. "Yeah. If we don't replace this revenue, we'll have to cut staff. Maybe a lot of staff." Logan started the car but didn't pull out of the parking lot yet. "So what do we do?" Vanessa stared out the window. "We fight, like we always do." The next 6 weeks were brutal. Logan and Vanessa worked 18-hour days, pitching every potential client they could find. They pulled the entire leadership team into emergency strategy sessions. They reviewed every account, every contract, looking for opportunities to expand existing relationships or revive dormant ones. But it wasn't enough. They landed one mid-sized account in week 2 and another smaller one in week 4, but they were still millions short of where they needed to be. At home, the stress bled into everything. Logan snapped at Emma over homework. Vanessa forgot to pick her up from school one afternoon, and Logan had to leave a client meeting to get her. They barely spoke to each other except about work, and when they did, it was tense and short. One night in early April, Emma came into the kitchen while Logan and Vanessa were going over financials at the table. It was past 10. Emma should have been asleep. "Why are you guys always fighting?" she asked. Logan looked up, startled. "We're not fighting, Bug." "Yes, you are." You just do it in quiet voices. Vanessa closed her laptop. Come here, sweetheart. Emma walked over and Vanessa pulled her onto her lap. We're not fighting. We're just stressed about work. Is the company in trouble? Logan and Vanessa exchanged a look. Emma was 8 now, sharp and observant in ways that constantly surprised them. There was no point lying. Yeah, Logan said, we lost a big client, and we're trying to figure out how to fix it. Are you going to have to close the company? No, we'll figure it out. How do you know? Logan looked at Vanessa, then back at Emma. Because we always do. It might not be easy, and it might not happen the way we planned, but we'll find a way. Emma was quiet for a moment. Then she said, You should take a break. What? You're always working. You look tired all the time. Maybe if you took a break, you'd think better. Logan felt something crack in his chest. Out of the mouths of children. He looked at Vanessa, who was staring at Emma like she'd just said something profound. She's right, Vanessa said. What? She's right. We've been grinding so hard we can't see straight anymore. Maybe we need to step back. Logan rubbed his face. We don't have time to step back. Then we make time. One day, just one. We clear our heads and then we come back to this fresh. Logan wanted to argue. They had 4 weeks left. Every hour mattered. But when he looked at Emma's face, worried and trying so hard to help, he realized she was right. They were running on fumes and it was making them sloppy. Okay, he said. One day. They took Saturday off. No laptops. No phones, except for emergencies. Just the 3 of them. They went to the lakefront, walked along the water, got ice cream even though it was barely warm enough. Emma ran ahead, chasing seagulls, and Logan and Vanessa walked slowly behind her. I'm sorry, Vanessa said after a while. For what? For letting work consume everything again. For forgetting that we said we wouldn't do this. Logan took her hand. We both did it. Not just you. I know, but I'm the CEO. I'm supposed to set the tone. You're also human, and sometimes being human means screwing up. Vanessa smiled, tired but genuine. When did you get so wise? I'm not wise. I'm just too exhausted to pretend I have all the answers. They caught up to Emma, who'd found a stick and was drawing patterns in the sand. Logan and Vanessa sat beside her, and for the first time in weeks, they just existed. No plans, no strategy, just presence. After a while, Emma said, Do you ever wish things were different? Different how? Logan asked. Like easier? Less stressful. Logan thought about that. Sometimes, but then I remember that the hard stuff is what makes the good stuff matter. If everything was easy, we wouldn't appreciate it as much. Emma considered this. That's kind of dumb. Logan laughed. Yeah, maybe it is. But I get it, Emma continued. Like when I work really hard on a drawing and it turns out good. It feels better than if it was easy. Exactly. Emma went back to her stick patterns, and Logan felt Vanessa lean against his shoulder. Thank you, she said quietly. For what? For reminding me what actually matters. Logan kissed the top of her head. Anytime. When they went back to work Monday, something had shifted. They were still stressed, still facing the same impossible deadline, but they weren't grinding themselves into the ground anymore. They were thinking clearly, working smarter instead of just harder. And on Tuesday afternoon, Logan got a call from an old contact at a manufacturing company they'd pitched years ago and never landed. The contact had heard through the industry grapevine that Sterling and Hale was doing innovative work, and he wanted to talk about a full rebrand and digital transformation. Logan set up a meeting for Thursday. He and Vanessa spent 2 days preparing a pitch that was bold and risky and exactly the kind of thing that either landed huge or crashed spectacularly. The meeting lasted 2 hours. They presented. They answered questions. They pushed back when the client suggested watering down the concept. And when they walked out, the manufacturing company's CEO shook their hands and said, Let's do it. The contract was worth more than the account they'd lost. Logan and Vanessa made it to the parking garage before they both started laughing, the kind of relieved, slightly hysterical laughter that comes after weeks of holding your breath. We did it, Vanessa said. Yeah, we did. She grabbed his face and kissed him. I love you. I love you too. They drove back to the office, made the announcement to the team, and spent the rest of the day celebrating. That night, they picked Emma up from school and took her out for pizza. "We landed the account," Logan told her. Emma grinned. "I knew you would." "How?" "Because you guys always figure it out. You said so." Logan felt his throat tighten. "Yeah, Bug. We do." Spring turned into summer, and life found its rhythm again. Work was still demanding, but Logan and Vanessa had learned to protect their boundaries. They left the office by 6 most days. They didn't work weekends unless absolutely necessary, and they made sure Emma knew she came first. Emma finished 3rd grade at the top of her class and spent her summer at a day camp where she learned to swim and made friends who didn't care about her family structure. She came home every day with stories about arts and crafts and games, and Logan and Vanessa listened like it was the most important thing in the world. In August, Vanessa's parents called for the first time in 2 years. They'd heard about the company's success, some article in a business magazine, and wanted to reconnect. Vanessa took the call in the bedroom with the door closed, and when she came out 30 minutes later, her face was carefully neutral. "What did they want?" Logan asked. "To congratulate me, and to meet Emma." "What did you say?" "That I'd think about it." Logan waited. He knew Vanessa's relationship with her parents was complicated. They'd been absent for most of her childhood, focused on their own careers, their own lives. They'd never approved of her career choices, never supported her when she needed it most. "Do you want them to meet her?" he asked finally. Vanessa sat on the couch. "I don't know. Part of me wants to prove to them that I built something they couldn't, a real family, not just a career. But another part of me doesn't want to give them the satisfaction." "What does Emma want?" "I haven't told her yet." Logan sat beside her. "Then maybe start there. Tell her she has grandparents who want to meet her. Let her decide if she wants that." Vanessa looked at him. "And if she says yes?" "Then we do it, together, and we make it clear that they don't get to waltz back into your life without acknowledging the years they weren't there." Vanessa leaned her head on his shoulder. "You always know what to say." "Not always, but I'm getting better at it." They told Emma that night. She listened carefully, then asked, "Why haven't I met them before?" Vanessa chose her words carefully. "Because they live far away, and because Mom and I haven't been close for a long time." "Why?" "Because sometimes families are complicated. Sometimes people aren't good at being there for each other, even when they should be." Emma thought about this. "Do you want me to meet them?" "That's up to you, sweetheart. If you want to, we'll make it happen. If you don't, that's okay too." Emma was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "I want to meet them, but just once, to see what they're like." Vanessa smiled. "Okay, we'll set something up." Ahmed. The meeting happened 2 weeks later at a restaurant downtown. Vanessa's parents, Robert and Catherine, were exactly what Logan expected. Well-dressed, well-spoken, and polite in the way people are when they're performing civility rather than feeling it. Catherine hugged Vanessa, but it was stiff and awkward. Robert shook Logan's hand and said it was nice to finally meet him, though his tone suggested otherwise. And when they turned to Emma, they looked at her like she was an interesting specimen rather than their granddaughter. "So you're Emma," Catherine said. "Yes, ma'am." "Vanessa tells us you're very smart." "I do okay." The dinner was painful. Catherine asked superficial questions about Emma's school and hobbies, but didn't seem interested in the answers. Robert spent most of the meal talking about his own career and accomplishments, barely acknowledging anyone else at the table. And Vanessa sat there with a polite smile that didn't reach her eyes, playing the role of dutiful daughter, even though Logan could see how much it cost her. Halfway through dessert, Emma leaned over to Logan and whispered, "Can we go home now?" Logan glanced at Vanessa, who nodded slightly. "Yeah, Bug. We can go." They made their excuses, thanked Robert and Catherine for dinner, and left. In the car, Emma said, "I don't think I need to see them again." "Why not?" Vanessa asked, turning in her seat. "Because they weren't very nice, and they didn't really want to know me. They just wanted to say they met me." Logan felt a surge of pride. 8 years old, and Emma could already read people better than most adults. Vanessa reached back and took Emma's hand. "You're right. They weren't very nice, and you don't have to see them again if you don't want to." Do you want to see them again? Emma asked. Vanessa was quiet for a moment. Then she said, No, I don't think I do. Then we won't, Emma said simply. We don't need them anyway. We have each other. Logan looked at Vanessa, and he saw tears in her eyes. But she was smiling. Yeah, sweetheart. We have each other. Fall arrived with cooler air and changing leaves. Emma started 4th grade, and Logan and Vanessa marked their 3rd anniversary. They didn't do anything big, just dinner at the Italian place where they'd had their first meal as a family, followed by a walk along the river. 3 years, Vanessa said. Feels longer. In a good way or a bad way? Good. Like we've been doing this forever. Logan took her hand. We have our rhythm now. Yeah, we do. They walked in comfortable silence for a while. Then Vanessa said, I've been thinking about something. What? About expanding the family. Logan stopped walking. You mean another kid? Yeah. Logan stared at her. You're serious? I am. I know it's a lot to think about. And we'd have to figure out logistics and timing and all of that. But Emma's getting older, and I think it would be good for her to have a sibling. What does Emma think? I haven't asked her yet. I wanted to talk to you first. Logan thought about it. Another kid, more chaos, more responsibility, less sleep, but also more love, more laughter. Another person to build this life around. Yeah, he said finally. Let's talk to Emma. Vanessa smiled, wide and genuine. Really? Really? She kissed him, and Logan felt something settle in his chest. This was right. Expanding their family, building something even bigger than what they already had. But they told Emma a week later. Her reaction was immediate and enthusiastic. Can I help pick out names? Logan laughed. We're not even pregnant yet, Bug. But when you are, can I help? Yeah, you can help. Emma grinned and started listing names immediately. Logan and Vanessa exchanged amused looks, and Logan felt gratitude wash over him. This was what family looked like. Not perfect, not planned, just people choosing each other every day and building something beautiful from that choice. The pregnancy happened faster than they expected. Vanessa found out in November, and they told Emma on Thanksgiving. Emma cried happy tears and immediately started planning how she'd teach her little sibling everything she knew. Work continued. The company grew. Logan and Vanessa hired more staff, took on bigger clients, and slowly built Sterling and Hale into one of the most respected agencies in the city. But they did it without sacrificing the life they'd fought so hard to protect. They made it to Emma's school events. They took vacations. They had dinner together every night, and they showed up for each other in the ways that mattered. The baby came in June. A boy. They named him Nathan, and Emma held him in the hospital with a kind of reverence that made Logan's heart ache. He's so small, she whispered. You were that small once, Vanessa said. Really? Really? Emma looked up at them. Can I be his big sister forever? Yeah, Bug. Forever. Logan watched them, his wife, his daughter, his son, and he thought about the man he used to be. The one who thought he had to do everything alone. The one who was drowning and didn't even know it. That man was gone. Replaced by someone who understood that strength wasn't about independence. It was about interdependence. About letting people see your weakness and trusting them not to use it against you. About building something together instead of trying to hold everything yourself. Vanessa caught his eye and smiled. You okay? Yeah, just happy. Me too. Nathan's first year was chaos, sleepless nights and endless diapers, and the particular exhaustion that comes from caring for an infant while managing a company and raising a 9-year-old. But they did it together. Logan took paternity leave. Vanessa worked from home for the first 3 months. Emma helped in the ways a kid could, fetching diapers, making funny faces, singing lullabies she'd made up herself, and slowly they found their new rhythm. Different from before, but no less functional. Emma turned 10 in March, and they threw her a party at the apartment. Her friends came, loud and chaotic, and Logan spent the afternoon managing games while Vanessa kept Nathan from being overwhelmed by the noise. It was messy and exhausting, and when the last kid left, Logan collapsed on the couch next to Vanessa. "We survived," he said. "Barely." Emma came over, still wearing her party hat. "That was the best birthday ever." "Good. I'm glad." She looked at Nathan, who was asleep in Vanessa's arms. "When's he going to be old enough to play with?" "Give him another year or two," Vanessa said. "That's forever." "It'll go faster than you think." Emma sighed dramatically, then went to her room to look at her presents. Logan looked at Vanessa. "We did good," he said. "Yeah, we did," moaned. The years passed faster than Logan expected. Nathan started walking, then talking, then getting into everything. Emma started middle school, navigating friendships and homework with the same determination she'd shown as a toddler. And Sterling and Hale continued to grow, becoming the kind of company people wanted to work for, the kind of place that valued people over profit. Logan and Vanessa made mistakes. They fought sometimes. They forgot important dates and snapped at each other when they were tired. But they also apologized. They showed up. They kept choosing each other even when it was hard. On their 5th anniversary, they renewed their vows. Nothing fancy, just a small ceremony in their living room with Emma and Nathan and Mrs. Kowalski as witnesses. Emma read a poem she'd written about family. Nathan threw flower petals everywhere except where he was supposed to. And Logan and Vanessa stood facing each other, saying the same words they'd said 5 years ago, but meaning them more deeply now. "I choose you," Vanessa said, "every day, for the rest of my life." "I choose you too," Logan replied, "always." They kissed, and Emma cheered, and Nathan clapped, even though he didn't really understand what was happening. Later that night, after the kids were in bed, Logan and Vanessa sat on their balcony looking out at the city. "Do you ever think about that night at the gala?" Vanessa asked. "Sometimes." "Do you regret it, stepping in, changing everything?" Logan thought about the risk he'd taken, about the career he'd almost lost and the life he'd almost never found. "No," he said finally. "Not for a second. Even with all the hard parts?" "Especially with the hard parts, because the hard parts are what made this real." Vanessa leaned against him. "I love you." "I love you too." They sat in comfortable silence, and Logan thought about what Emma had said years ago, that the hard stuff makes the good stuff matter. She'd been right. The struggles they'd faced, Langford's sabotage, the lost accounts, the balancing act between work and family, all of it had forged them into something stronger. He'd learned that you don't have to be perfect to be a good father. You just have to show up, to be present, to let your kids see you try and sometimes fail and then try again. He'd learned that love isn't about finding someone who completes you. It's about finding someone who challenges you to become better while accepting who you are right now. And he'd learned that family isn't about biology or legal documents or societal expectations. It's about the people you choose and who choose you back. The ones who see you at your worst and stay anyway. The ones who build a life with you, not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. Emma graduated high school on a sunny day in June. She'd been accepted to 3 universities and chosen one in Boston, which meant she'd be leaving in the fall. Logan tried not to think about it too much, but as he watched her walk across the stage to accept her diploma, he felt the weight of time pressing down on him. She wasn't his little bug anymore. She was a young woman with her own dreams and plans, and soon she'd be gone. After the ceremony, they took photos outside. Emma with her diploma, Emma with Logan, Emma with Vanessa, Emma with Nathan, who was now 10 himself and already taller than he should be, Emma with all of them together, smiling and happy. That night, after the extended family celebrations, Emma found Logan on the balcony. "Hey, Dad!" He turned. She didn't call him Daddy anymore. Hadn't for a few years, but he still heard it sometimes in his head. "Hey, Em, you okay?" "Yeah, just thinking." "About what?" She leaned against the railing. "About how different my life could have been. If Mom, my birth mom, had stayed. If you hadn't met Vanessa. If we hadn't become this." Logan felt his throat tighten. "Do you wish things were different?" "No, I was just thinking how lucky I am. That I got you and Vanessa and Nathan. That I got this family instead of whatever the alternative would have been." Logan put his arm around her shoulders. "We're the lucky ones, Em. You made us better. All of us. She leaned her head on his shoulder. I'm going to miss you when I leave. We're going to miss you too, but you're going to do amazing things. How do you know? Because you're smart and strong and you don't give up. You learned that from your mom. Which one? Logan smiled. Both. Emma laughed, and they stood together watching the city lights. The house felt different after Emma left for college. Quieter. Emptier. Logan and Vanessa threw themselves into work and Nathan's activities, but there was still a gap where Emma's energy used to be. They called her every Sunday. She told them about her classes and her roommate and the cafeteria food that was somehow both terrible and addictive. She came home for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and those weeks felt like the apartment was whole again. But then she'd leave, and they'd adjust all over again. Nathan handled it by becoming even more talkative, filling the silence Emma left behind. He joined the soccer team and the debate club and brought home stories that made Logan laugh until his sides hurt. And Vanessa, who'd been nervous about being a mother to a son after years of only knowing how to parent Emma, surprised herself by being exactly what Nathan needed: firm but loving, challenging but supportive. Sterling and Hale celebrated its 15th anniversary. They'd grown from 30 employees to over 200. They'd opened offices in 2 other cities. And they'd maintained the culture they'd fought so hard to build, one that valued people and creativity and work-life balance. Logan stood at the podium during the anniversary celebration and looked out at the crowd. So many faces he recognized, so many people whose lives had been changed by working here. 15 years ago, he said, this company was struggling. It had lost its way. But one person refused to let it die. She fought for it. She rebuilt it. And she showed all of us what real leadership looks like. He found Vanessa in the crowd. Vanessa, this is as much your victory as anyone's. Thank you for never giving up. The room erupted in applause. Vanessa smiled, a little embarrassed, but clearly moved. Later, in the quiet of their office, she said, You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. Because it's true. I didn't do it alone. No, you didn't. But you started it, and that matters. Vanessa took his hand. We built this together, all of it, the company, the family, the life. Yeah, we did. Nathan graduated high school the same week Emma graduated college. It felt surreal to Logan, both his kids done with major chapters, both of them stepping into new phases of life. Emma had accepted a job in Chicago. She'd be coming home, not to live with them, but close enough to visit, close enough to be part of their daily lives again. Nathan was headed to UCLA, film school. He wanted to be a director, which didn't surprise anyone who'd watched him narrate every moment of his life since he could talk. The night before Nathan left, Logan found him in his room packing the last of his things. You ready? Logan asked. Nathan looked up. I think so. You? No. Nathan laughed. It's just college, Dad. I'll be back for holidays. I know, but it's still hard. Nathan set down the shirt he was folding. Can I ask you something? Always. Do you ever regret how things turned out? Like, you had to give up a lot when Emma was born, and then when you met Mom. Do you ever wonder what your life would have been like if things were different? Logan thought about that question, really thought about it. No, he said finally, because everything I gave up was replaced by something better. I thought I wanted a big career and freedom and no responsibilities. But what I actually needed was purpose. And I found that with you guys. But it was hard, right? Raising Emma alone, building a life with Mom, starting over. Yeah, it was hard. But hard doesn't mean bad. Hard just means it matters. Nathan smiled. Emma said you'd say something like that. She's a smart kid. She learned from the best. Logan felt his chest tighten. You're going to be okay out there. Better than okay. I know. Because you and Mom taught me how. The years continued to pass. Emma got married to a software engineer named Marcus, no relation to the Sterling and Hale Marcus, and they bought a house in Evanston. Nathan graduated and moved to Los Angeles to work on independent films, and Logan and Vanessa, now in their 50s, settled into a different phase of life. They stepped back from day-to-day operations at Sterling and Hale, promoting younger leaders and transitioning into advisory roles. They traveled more, They took up hobbies they'd never had time for. They became the kind of couple who held hands on walks and finished each other's sentences. And then, on a cold November afternoon, Emma called with news that made everything feel full circle. "I'm pregnant." Logan felt time stop. "What?" "I'm pregnant, Dad. You're going to be a grandfather." He sat down, suddenly dizzy. "That's when?" "May. And before you ask, yes, we're keeping it, and no, we don't know the gender yet." Logan started laughing. Not because it was funny, but because it was perfect. Because life kept moving forward whether you were ready or not. "I'm happy for you, Em." "Thanks, Dad." "And Dad?" "Yeah?" "I hope I'm half as good at this as you were." "You'll be better." Yeah. Emma's daughter was born in May. They named her Julia. And when Logan held her for the first time, he thought about the day Emma was born, about how terrified he'd been, about how certain he was that he'd fail. He hadn't been perfect. He'd made mistakes, he'd lost his temper and forgotten important things, and sometimes felt like he was drowning. But he'd shown up, every single day, and somehow that had been enough. Vanessa stood beside him, looking at Julia with tears in her eyes. "She's beautiful." "Yeah, she is." Emma watched them from the hospital bed, tired but smiling. "You guys want to hold her together?" Logan and Vanessa sat side by side, Julia cradled between them, and Logan felt the weight of everything they'd built. Not just the company or the career or the external markers of success, but this, family, legacy, love that extended beyond themselves. That night, driving home, Vanessa said, "We did it." "Did what?" "Built something that lasts." Logan took her hand. "Yeah, we did." They drove in comfortable silence, and Logan thought about the journey they'd been on. From that night at the gala to this, grandparents, partners, people who'd built a life worth living. It hadn't been easy, it hadn't been smooth, but it had been real. And that was all that mattered. Because in the end, life wasn't about perfection. It wasn't about having all the answers or never making mistakes. It was about showing up, about choosing the people you loved even when it was hard, about building something together and trusting that it would hold. Logan had learned that the hard way, but he'd learned it. And now, looking at the life he and Vanessa had created, he knew it was worth every struggle, every setback, every moment of doubt. They'd built something beautiful, not despite the challenges, but because of them. And that was everything. Years later, when Logan was asked what the secret to a good life was, he thought about that night at the gala, about the choice he'd made to step in when everyone else looked away, about the risk he'd taken and the life it had led to. "There's no secret," he said. "You just show up, you do the work, you choose the people who matter and let them choose you back. And you don't give up, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard." That's it. That's it. Because it was. Life wasn't complicated. People made it complicated. But at its core, it was simple. Show up, love deeply, build something that matters, and trust that the rest will follow. Logan had done that. Vanessa had done that. And together, they'd built a life that was messy and imperfect and absolutely worth every second. And in the end, that was all anyone could ask for.